Hello, everybody. I'm sorry I am a little late, but I'm here now. Let's see, getting situated. Mr. Pate, how are you doing? Okay. Let's see. It is Saturday, March 4th, 11:08 a.m. Arizona time. I am, as you saw in the title, I have 3-ish pages to go. What is 3-ish? Well, I'm still working on the 4th to last, but I'm making progress. I've been for months now, a couple days behind, so it's kind of like I'm still that. I fully expect to finish this page, the 4th to last page. I don't know if it will. I don't think it'll be tomorrow, but Monday or Tuesday, which is about where I've been. So, I think I'm just maintaining those couple days behind. Let me look for a second. Jim had asked if there were any gimmies in the pages left, and we're running out of pages left, and I don't know. So, not really. Like, there's no freebie pages that are real easy. None of them are hard. It's just none of them are easy enough where I think I can catch up a few days. Now, one potential qualification. I woke up this morning feeling a little stuffy, my throat not feeling right. Maybe I'm getting a cold. If I get a cold, maybe I'll have to take off work. If I have to take off work, maybe I'll be working on my comic. And that would be something where maybe I could see myself catching up a little bit or getting ahead a little bit, depending on how you look at it. But I don't know. I think I'll probably just be a few days behind through the rest of this book, which is not that much longer. Again, once I finish this page I'm working on, I'm going to be eating a gummy. It's not that kind of gummy. Everyone's settled down. It's like a vitamin thing. What was I saying? Yeah, so once I finish the page I'm on, 3 pages left. No matter how behind I am, there's no way I'm not finishing the last page this month. Which is crazy. Just weird. Feels weird. I'll take it. I'm happy about it. But it feels weird. Okay. Let's see some chat activity. It all depends how you look at it, Christopher. The way I see it, once I start the 3rd to last page, I think I have 2-ish pages left. That's the way that's at least the story I'm going to tell myself. Mr. Lujan. Cool. Okay. Before we go any further, as is the tradition now, we're going to talk about 3 books from the library. I noticed, I think I was chatting with Edie and Christopher's stream. I think all my picks, my book picks so far, with the exception of one, Sharp Teeth, have been nonfiction. And I do generally read a lot more nonfiction than fiction. But I have nothing against fiction, and I read a lot of it. So I just grabbed 3. Today we're doing the fiction tour. So first and foremost, I have Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. I'm sorry, the gummy was a bad idea. I'm not going to eat the second one while I'm trying to talk. I'm not particularly like, while I love Western movies, I'm not a particularly huge Western fiction reader. Like, actually, off the top of my head, I can maybe think of 3 or 4 I've read in my life. You know, I think it's like this and Shane. I don't know. I'm sure there's other, but whatever. The point being, like, I don't particularly care about Western fiction. That said, I adored Lonesome Dove when I read it. And not only that, it may be, depending on the day you catch me, my favorite piece of fiction I've ever read. It could be. Like, I think this is just one of the greatest. I don't want to say greatest because that sounds like it's good, other books are bad, and there's a ranking. At least for my money, this is like one of the best fiction reading experiences I've ever had. This is, even though it's a brick, it's, let's see how many pages. I still remember the last line of this book. Yeah. 945 pages. And it's one of those stories, at least for me, like when I finished it, like I wanted more. And now he did go on to write a bunch of other stuff around these characters and around this time. And to be honest, I think I read a few of them, or at least attempted a few of them, and it just wasn't the same. Like, you can't go back like this. But this is one of those books where there are some movies like this, there are some books like this, there's some albums like this. You wish you could experience it for the first time again. Like, this is just like, if I could erase my memory of any book I've ever read and then get to read it again for the very first time, I think Lonesome Dove would be high on my list. It's really, really good. Also, you'll remember, if you're older like me, there was a miniseries. TV used to have miniseries on network channels of this, starring Robert Duvall and Tommy Lee Jones and a bunch of other like very, very recognizable actors. I think Diane Lane, when she was like 18 or something, like she was really young. There's just I'm not going to try and list them all. Really, really, really strong cast. Ricky Schroeder, of all people. Very, very good. A little let down by having to be sort of kid-friendly, being on network TV, but still good enough where it's like, you're never going to be able to remake that and do it better, really. Just on the basis of having Duvall and Tommy Lee Jones alone, like, you just got to leave it alone. It was fine. I would not recommend it over the book. The book, of course, I mean, not of course, there are some examples of movies or TV being better than the book, but this is a case where the book is far superior. But if you don't like to read, if you don't want to read a 1,000-page book, if, you know, like, the series is very good. Like, I really did enjoy the series, and it's surprisingly good for that era, I would say. In this sort of golden age of like streaming TV, where the quality is pretty high on average, now it would not be so shocking. But then it was crazy. Like, it was crazy how good it was when, like, you know, it was probably airing against Love Boat or some shit, you know? So anyway, Lonesome Dove. Beautiful, beautiful, amazing, incredible, epic Western. I'm gonna, let's see, look real quick. Yes, you can. Absolutely, you can. I'd be delighted if you did. I want to come on and shout at you irrationally about your timetable. Please don't. Can you talk about the Jodi Arias trial? I would love to, if this was not broadcast, where anyone can just come along and listen to it, like if we were all just sitting somewhere, be happy to tell you Jodi Arias stories. For those who don't know, though, like I work at the, not past tense, like I work at the office that prosecuted Jodi Arias. And I have some behind the scenes stories, but because I work there, like I can't sit and just, but if you ever catch me alone, if we get coffee sometime, I'll tell you all the Jodi Arias stories you want to hear. And if you don't know who Jodi Arias is, you can Google it, but chick who murdered somebody. That's not, whoa. Let's see here. Okay, I'm still only one in, so you haven't missed much. Drawing and listening. Paul, I hope it's going well. I hope you can use me as an example. Of course, you've done it many times before, but that eventually you can finish. Eventually you will finish. I haven't yet, but 3-ish pages left. It's getting there. Dee Dee, I'm glad you're here. Watching okay. Yeah, Diane, still, I mean, at any age, one of the, I don't know what else to say. I mean, come on. Okay. I mean, probably, right, Dee Dee? Like, what else? We could Google it, but like, because I don't remember what year that came out, but I would guess Lonesome Dove was probably, what was that? That was probably like late 80s or very early 90s, I'm going to guess. I wanted to check that at least, because I'm trying to remember when I was aware of it. $1989. Book was published 1985. So yeah, I had it right. Because I vaguely remember I think I had just started high school when because it was, again, this is like a different time, but if you were back there, you remember when there was like a mini series, like Lonesome Dove or Roots or Jesus of Nazareth or whatever the thing was. Like it was like the whole, like everyone was aware of it because there's like 5 channels. Like it wasn't like now where 2 people can talk about TV all evening and have never seen the same show or even heard of it, because there's like 80 million channels and all these different shows and whatever. Like there were 5 channels, and so if Roots was on or Lonesome Dove or Jesus of Nazareth or what are the other ones? I think they did The Bible was one. There was some kind of World War II one. I don't remember what it was called. But there was definitely like a World War, I think it was like a Pacific War one. Anyway, whatever. There was no escaping it. And even if you weren't watching, everyone was talking about it. So Lonesome Dove, I remember it being a thing. I thought I was in high school. I don't think I was much, or at least like had just graduated from 8th grade or something like that. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, that was another one. Gosh, Thornbirds. Yes. There were so many, like, that would be a fun, I don't know, maybe someday I can entrap Jim into a top 5 miniseries, because it was always a big deal. It was very exciting when there would be this like all week long, every night, like a new part of this thing. Gosh, that's taking me back. Okay, next book. So Lonesome Dove, great Western novel, worth it. worth it. I think actually this one you can tell like the binding isn't broken, because I think I loaned my original. I read this back in high school, I think. I think I probably saw the series first. And people is like, oh, if you liked the series, you got to read the book. You got to read the book. So I did finally, I think in high school or maybe early college, I finally read it and was not disappointed. Like, it's great. So, but I think I loaned it to somebody. I was talking it up and I never got it back. So this is a replacement because it's one of those things like, will I ever read this again? I hope to, but I have no plans to. But it's one of those things I loved the book so much I couldn't not have it in my library. This is something if you're a bookie like me, not a bookie like a gambler, but someone who's like the equivalent of a foodie, you keep books that are important to you even if you maybe will never read them again. And this is one of them. Okay. The next one, this is my favorite fantasy novel, even above Lord of the Rings, even above The Hobbit, is A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. It's relatively small commitment, but just for a comparison of page count. Yeah, it doesn't even break 200 pages. 182 pages. I did read the sequels, kind of like Lonesome Dove. I didn't care about the sequels as much. But the first one I really loved, and it's also one of my favorite books of all time. And it's also one I've recommended a million times, I've loaned out a million times, I've never gotten it back a few times. I think this is also, this is one I can tell, even though it's old, and I can tell I have read it, it's not as broken in as some of the books back there. Probably because I loaned this, and I remember I had a different cover too, I think, the first one I read. But anyway, Wizard of Earthsea, go Google it. It's very good. I think it stood out to me. I got it at exactly the right time when I was, I think, early in my NAU, my college career. I was an anthropology major, and Ursula K. Le Guin, if I remember right, I think her father is like a very famous in the field anthropologist. And I think that's something that it was a field and a kind of a way of thinking about the world and people and religions and everything that really soaked into her bones. And you can tell when you read this, like the way she conceptualizes a fantasy world and how magic works and how, all that stuff is, to me, like very clearly someone who's had been exposed to or interested in or both folklore and mana religions, and you can tell there's a whole system of belief in the world that she invents here, which I really appreciated. There are some fantasy novels you read that are very clearly like Game of Thrones, where it's like our world, but some people have pointy ears. There's no pointy ears in Game of Thrones, but there's dragons. You know what I mean? It's basically you're taking it's like the Mid-Ages, but with magic. It's like the Mid-Ages, but there's a dragon over there, or like a weird demon floating around, or whatever the thing is. Like they're just making one little tweak to something that's very recognizable. Wizard of Earthsea, I thought she created a imagined culture that felt like it could be real and yet completely distinct from what you normally see. And she also stepped away from the whole medieval default mode of fantasy and did more of what I would describe something closer to like an indigenous belief system. That was, you could tell, very thoughtful and interesting, and says something also about the themes that she's trying to talk about and the characters she's trying to show you. So anyway, very, very good. And then finally, and this is also me kind of obligating myself. So I love Cormac McCarthy, one of my favorite authors. This is Blood Meridian, or The Evening of Redness in the West. The reason I picked this one, I have a bunch of McCarthy back there. I picked this one because this represents my defeat several times over. I have attempted to read this book a few times, and I end up tapping out. Now, some people, Blood Meridian is notorious for people tapping out because of the violence. That's not, I can handle the violence. To me, it's the density and like the complexity of the language. It is, to me, I just find it a very difficult read. It's, to me, it's almost like a Foucault book or some, or no, not, who am I talking about? The Name of the Rose guy. Damn it, this is gonna drive me crazy. Eco. Before it even popped up, I remember Umberto Eco. To me, it's like that. I don't know if you've ever read an Umberto Eco book, or Eco, I don't know how to pronounce his name. In the Name of the Rose, Foucault's Pendulum. I can't think of any others right now. It's just very, it requires a kind of a commitment and intensity in reading that I have to admit I've like gotten worse and worse at as I get older. Just like at anything. Like I feel like I'm worse and worse at sitting still as I get older. I'm worse and worse at really like concentrating on a movie. I can't sit and play a video game aimlessly for 6 hours anymore like I could maybe in high school. And it's also very hard for me to just sit with a book and kind of not worry about anything else and just get absorbed by a book for 4 hours. It's something I want to try and recapture. But anyway, this is the kind of book that demands that, in my opinion. It's tough. But I love Cormac McCarthy. And I love, as however far I've gotten into it each time before I just kind of lost my way, I really enjoyed it. It's a book I intend to finish someday and is actually on my list of things to do once I finish drawing D vs. M 1979. So that's why I'm making myself accountable. I'm bringing up Blood Meridian. By Christmas this year, I will have read Blood Meridian. Putting it out there. Okay. Those are my 3 books today. Let's see. I'm checking the chat. Yeah, she's written a ton. Honestly, I would have trouble coming up with the names of any but that one. So I never read any Heinlein, and I had a lot of friends who really talked him up, but I never even attempted. I don't know. And not for any reason other than it just never fell in my hands. I never had a specific one where like a friend was like, you've got to read this one, Yeah, Dad was an anthropologist. And what was, I'm going to check his name. I know he was someone famous. Okay, Le Guin. Yeah, Alfred Kroeber. That's right. And he got his PhD under Franz Boas. Boas is like, if you're an anthropology person, he's like one of the Mount Rushmore famous, original cultural anthropologists. So her anthro cred, her anthro bona fides are pretty legit. But like I said, you can tell when you read it. You can tell that that's how she's approaching this sort of challenge of writing a fantasy world. She's really starting from the ground up of like, what do these people believe? How does what they believe shape their day-to-day life? You know, it's interesting. Let's see there. I just finished a 6-book series, and I'm in that book, Let Down. Yeah. What's the series? 33-book series. What would that even be? You were maybe mentioning this in the chat the other day, right? Something you were reading before you got to Harry Potter, or if I remember right. Which, by the way, that's another. I can do a bonus book. Actually, I don't want to dig around in my shelf for too long, but I'll for next time. There is a Harry Potter curiosity back there. Okay, I'm chewing up another gummy. I apologize. Sister Fidelma 6. What? I'm unfamiliar with that. I'm going to write it down. Lord Foulsbane. I'll look into that. Peter Tremaine. I'm a little stuck on that. Thomas Covenant, the Unbeliever. It sounds like a Dungeons and Dragons character. Okay. Interesting. I have to admit, I'm bad at series. It's kind of the same with movies too. Like, actually with a lot of things now that I think about it. It doesn't matter how much I loved something. Actually, it's almost especially if I loved it, I'm satisfied. Like, I don't need any more. And so no matter how good, like, future books, future sequel, like movies, future whatever, like, it's like, that's, you know, I got it. I got it, and that was fun, and now I'm ready to move on to something else, you know? And so I can't think of many book series I really stuck with. Even if I loved it, even if I yeah, these are good examples. Like, I loved Wizard of Earthsea. I didn't really care about any. I was like, okay, thank you. And it's like, well, I've got like 6 more books in the series. It's like, yeah, this was fine. I loved this. This is enough, you know. And same with Lonesome Dove. He wrote a bunch of other books with some of the same characters that I liked. And I just, I'm good. Thank you. I enjoyed the Harry Potter movies. I can't say I loved them like I did like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or whatever, but like I enjoyed them. And I still to this day have not seen the last 2. Just because I kind of got to that point where it's like, yeah, I get it. It's fun. Yeah. I don't know. And I've always been that way. I don't know. I can think back to when I was a kid. reading like an X-Men comic and thinking like, this is awesome, and like having no motivation to go and get the next one. Or video games, I used to do that a lot. Like I played, just for back old NES stuff, I played Contra. I probably put so many hours into Contra, I couldn't even tell you. And then Super C came out, which is the Nintendo sequel to Contra. I don't think I even bought it. I just didn't like. I have Contra. I had fun with Contra. I'm good. You know, I don't know. Is anybody else like that? Let's see here. Jade City. I don't know that one either. Dune is another one, kind of like Blood Meridian, that has broken me a couple times. Not for the same reasons. Like Dune isn't a difficult read to me. I feel like, though, it's almost like a book I feel like I need to be taking notes. Like it's not. It's similar to this in the sense that it's requiring a level of attention and time that I just rarely find myself willing to spend. I never found it as difficult to read. This is actually, to me, difficult to read. And McCarthy, if you've never read McCarthy, he has this thing he does. I mean, I'm not going to be able to show you on the camera, but he never uses quotes. And there'll be people having conversations, and it becomes really kind of exhausting sometimes to keep track of, is this dialogue or is this who's talking? Like it again, there's this level of intensity that you need to be reading it with that I'm just, especially when I'm in the middle of drawing a comic, it's like I can't, all after day job and comic, I'm spent. Like I've been watching Josh play all his Risk games. I love Risk. It's really had me itching to like jump in a Risk game with him. But I also know like now is not the time, because all my brain cells are on day job and comic. Everything, like I am, if I'm going to do anything with my free time, it's going to be mindless. And mindless doesn't work for Blood Meridian. Mindless doesn't work for Dune. Mindless, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see here. I didn't like the Dune book and never saw the movie. I've seen both movies. I didn't see the miniseries. I think something about that just looked cheesy and weird to me. The David Lynch Dune it's very David Lynch in the sense that it's fascinating, not always in a good way. The latest one, the Denis Villeneuve one, with that the new DiCaprio, the Timothy Chalamet or whatever, I thought was great, and I'm very excited for the second one, which comes out I think at the end of this year. Oh, wow. That's interesting sounding. Yeah, I feel like Dune isn't a book to read young, just from my attempts at it. It's back on this shelf. It's right behind this macrame owl right here. I've been wanting to rewatch Crouching Tiger. Okay. So in our green room, we have a very special guest. I was going to make some cracks, but I'm just going to be nice. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Lujan.
I'm special, so special. Hello, Gary.
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I didn't ask you how you were. I said hello. No, I'm
I thought you did say.
I said hello, Gary.
Hello, Gary. I thought, how are you, Gary? See,
how this is going to go.
I imagined you were more interested in my life than you actually were. See, so my apologies. I'm sorry.
I felt really bad about jumping on here and hijacking your show, but I'm starting to deal with it now. But,
you're adjusting. You're coming to terms.
Wait, first, let me get this out of the way first. You can do it, Gary. You can do it. Come on, man. You're at the and remember, and I don't know if you talked about this or not already, but
look at this pile of pages. Look at this thick book of like it's almost there. It's almost there.
The minute you finish this book, you're gonna want to jump back in again.
I think I'll want to jump back into writing. What I have told you privately, but I don't think I've said here. I don't remember if I've said here. I can't at this point, and this is like the point where, of course, I would say this. I cannot imagine doing any more drawing for the rest of the year once I finish this. Like now that could come back, but right now, like this is, I think the analogy I used with you. You're catching me on the last mile of a marathon, saying like, "You want to do another one next weekend?" It's like no, and I might murder you for even asking that. But writing the script for the next one sounds fun to me.
I don't think it's a marathon. No, I think it is more like you're at a buffet and you've got this heaping bowl of ice cream and you're like, oh,
yeah.
Oh my God, never again, never again. But
never again.
You're going to want to go back to that.
I know, but give it a week. Yeah, no, that's it's like that too. Yes. So
a little behind the scenes. You had mentioned, and I don't know if you mentioned this on air or not, but you had mentioned, you said, well, maybe if you're up to it, if you want to reveal the name of your new project, because I had announced that on March 4th, that I was going to reveal the name of the new project and stuff like that. And yeah, Gary, I think I will.
Am I getting the exclusive?
You're getting the exclusive.
Oh my gosh, hold on just
Chris Runciman. I'm sorry, but you're not broadcasting on weekends. So I would have shelved Gary, jumped on your show, you know.
All right. Okay. Wait. Yes. Okay. All right. Now we're ready.
All right. Okay. How do I do this? Do you want me to? Okay. I guess I just say it.
Yeah. I mean, the floor is yours. Like I'm just.
The name. I think I need full screen for this, or at least you need.
Okay. Yeah. How do I? Let's see here. Wait a minute.
How about you be little? You're tiny, like this big, little tiny Gary in the corner, so I can see your reaction, and then I'll announce it.
How do I see? This is where this. I'm not very good at this. How do I? Let's see here.
Okay. Well,
Wait a minute.
Let's just stick with that.
Well,
Dad, it's the red button on the remote, Dad.
This is ridiculous. This has to be
full layout.
There we go. Oh, but you want to be able to see me. You're gonna have to hear me. Can you hear me still?
I can hear you.
I will scream in enthusiasm, or at least go, wow.
Just go back to regular screen as soon as I say it. Okay. Thank you, Gary, for letting me hijack. The name of my new project that I'm working on is
Wait. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Yes.
Wait. Click and drag.
No, it's okay. It doesn't matter if I'm on the left or the right. It doesn't matter.
There. Okay. There.
All right.
How about that? What do you think of that?
All right. I had announced I was going to wait. What? Huh? I had announced that I was going to reveal the name today, and it is revealed. The title of my new feature-length animated film project is The Full Fungus.
Very nice.
Say it with me, Gary. Say it with me.
Full fungus.
The Full Fungus. And wait, Gary, to prove that you have the exclusive, here is the button on Instagram. Shared. Wait, it's posting. You got it first. Now it's on Instagram.
Nice. Look at that. Fungus. The Full Fungus.
Yeah.
I love it.
Here's what I can say about it. It's not about fungus.
Yes.
Or fungi. It's not about mushrooms. It's not about anything. The Full Fungus refers to something else that's not anything seedy or anything that it shall be revealed. I'll actually say what that is pretty soon. But it's it's a reference to something that exists in the film.
Yes.
And what else can I say? The film takes place modern day, and it's not about the full fungus zombie apocalypse. And this is one of those titles. I've had this again, like I usually do. I had this in my notebook for probably 5 years, probably 4 to 5 years. I've had it. So, anyways, that's it. Now, let's go back to Gary and celebrate Gary's 3-page.
3 pages left. Look, do you see Corey Kerr heckling us, taking advantage of our technological inexperience?
Yes. Thank you, Corey. Corey's like visiting us at the old folks' home.
Yeah, he is. Well, I'm very excited for you.
Thank you.
I have been lucky enough to hear some of the earliest ideas of what the full fungus is about, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm here, because you've been paramount, and I use Gary as a sounding board a lot of times. I'll throw like a version of the story, and he's like, "I love it," and then I come back next time and go, "Okay, I changed that whole thing."
It's a little emotionally. It's an emotional roller coaster.
But yeah,
he will call me up and say, "I think this is what it's about. This will do. Then this will happen, and then this character will do this." And I was like, "That sounds awesome."
And then
he'll call me a week later. He's like, "I've scrapped it all. It's all gone."
Football, like Lucy on Charlie Brown, But we are back to I'm back to the original.
Yes. It seems like you are coming around to the original.
Yeah.
The original pitch. Yeah.
At first, I didn't know if I had enough for a movie. That's why I was like, and then I
there's
combined a couple of different ideas, and so. But that's it. Full fungus. I want to thank you, Gary. Definitely thank you, because it has been a joy to have you as a sounding board and to kind of throw ideas off of you and everything. And that's why letting you go is going to be so difficult for us, because you've been such an instrument into this company.
I understand.
And I'm sorry.
Do I get severance? They're giving me
something will be severed. But
you from the company.
Yes, but all right. But back to you, Gary. Back to the Gary.
No, wait. So now I know this is very early in the process, but do you at least have an aspirational? I think I would like to have it out around or is that like you can't even think about that yet?
When I've done a feature before myself. I mean, besides the one I did with Bill Plimpton, that wasn't really me. That was he had a team. But I did Counterclockwise in Foreverland, and that's over an hour. That's like a CNN thing. Breaking news. Breaking news.
That's right. Here we go.
But Counterclockwise in Foreverland's over an hour long, I think, or about an hour. And that took me about 9 months to do that one, 10 months. So I'm hoping around towards the end of the year. That would be a hope, but I haven't. Yeah, it's really early. I'm still figuring out some of the pieces of it and assembling the cast kind of. I would guess towards the end of the year. But I plan to release snippets of it as I go too. That's another thing, because I'm not going to have new films, new shorts, So, anyways, so that's the deal. Yes. Well, you know what? You have lunch with someone, and the paparazzi.
Yeah, they're there, and there's no.
I am not seeing Pete Davidson, but I am seeing John Davidson, his father. And if you don't know who John Davidson is, kids, go Google him.
Yeah, you probably also have not watched the Lonesome Dove miniseries.
Was he on that? John Davidson's on that?
No, but it's that same. I think you have to be a little older to know.
Oh, okay. Oh, because earlier. Yeah, I tuned out. Once you brought out a book, I was like, "Oh, screw this!" And I flipped.
Like, what is this? What is this garbage?
This is words, no pictures.
I'm imagining a 20-minute close-up of a foot with fungus tossing one-liners at each other.
Yeah. You know, if you're coming to this film for Fungus, you're going to be greatly
You're gonna be
disappointed.
disappointed. There is no, in every version of this story he's told me, not a single mushroom, not even a little bit of athlete's foot, none of it. None of
All
it's
right, here, I'll do this, Gary. I'll give you another. And again, I'm totally hijacking your show. I will give you another. Let's give your viewers another exclusive. The full fungus. I'm not going to give details, but the full fungus refers to a piece of music.
Wow, you're revealing that.
Well, I don't say what kind of music or anything.
You're not. Yeah, I guess you're not. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's not a secret in the film. In the film, you learn.
No, it's not a twist. It's not.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
not
Wow, we're getting a lot of exclusives today.
Mhm.
This is exciting.
Oh, I should announce the cast too.
Do you have cast announcements?
George Clooney,
Pete Davidson.
Patrick Warburton. I don't even know. I can't. I'm tired.
Right.
I don't want to make up names.
Right. Now, I think there was one voice announcement you did mention on somebody else's stream.
Oh yes, actually yes, you're right. I can't announce. Okay, here the very first person I'm announcing in this film is Christopher Runciman.
Yes.
Is doing a voiceover. I might have him do a few, but he is doing a voiceover that has something to do with bowling. Although this is not a bowling movie either.
Not a bowling movie.
Not a bowling movie, but he is doing some voiceover, and that's one of the first things people will see as a sneak preview. Probably there'll probably be some. I know this is it's a very strange film, but
I'm excited for it. I'm very
amazing.
excited for it. I'm excited to start seeing it come together. Now, yes, I agree with Josh here. No, he's a natural. He's a natural. He has to be.
And that's coming from the ripped pastor himself.
Yes.
Josh Campbell, who did a great voiceover for me. But, yeah, his voice does need to be in film. Yeah.
So
that's my big exclusive.
Now you've already, other than the logo, you've already started drawing a little bit, right? I thought you told me.
I have drawn the entire first opening sequence scene, like the first 5 minutes of the movie, and then I've animated one shot so far, the opening shot of the film. I've animated it, so yeah, I'm pretty into it. And actually, after this, I had planned to work on it at a coffee shop while listening to your show.
Yes.
And the exclusive thing hit, and it's breaking news.
I appreciate that we got the live.
Pete, I'll check you later, Pete. Yeah. So,
you can't hold a guy like Pete down. He's got. I don't want to. I don't mean to naysay Jim. I know you're very in love. I know you're very excited.
I'm just worried that
he's got to run free, man.
I'm just worried that this is a passing fling and it's not forever.
I think you should listen to that thought. Yeah.
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 But yeah. So yeah, I agree. Christopher Runciman's. And by the way, I have a message for Josh. Josh, I can't watch the show while you're doing Risk, but if you play Chutes and Ladders,
Right.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you know this, but I am a grand double master in Chutes and Ladders.
Look out.
Yeah. We call it the high rung. That's what our title is. But I mean, that Chutes and Ladder, the European rules are different than the American rules. And I know that there was a big scandal a few years ago with performance-enhancing drugs. But Chutes and Ladders. By the way, Chutes and Ladders is actually there is a Chinese version or something like that called some. You know what I'm talking about?
I do, and I don't remember what it's called.
Oh, it's called like Bushes and Cliffs or something. I don't know. But yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, really, like serious Chutes and Ladders. No, I am.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught it from the beginning, Josh. As soon as I'm done drawing, I'm probably going to be now like saying, okay, when are we doing a group Risk game that we're going to stream? But I can't, like, I'm not at my full power. Right. Yeah. I'm too
I like
distracted.
Josh's idea of Chutes and Ladders, but like just grown men screaming intensity.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and it could be sponsored by like a monster drink company, like Extreme, you know, and like we have like Metallica playing in the background, you know.
You wearing like headbands and things. Yeah.
And I do a move and I go ride the lightning like that. Yeah. Full contact chat.
There was Corey. I don't know if Corey's still game. I am also still game, but it would have to be after I'm done drawing. We talked about a little chess tourney with the circle. Whoever would want to participate. I'm up for that as well.
You guys play all these difficult games. Why don't you play like I'll play if you guys play like tic-tac-toe. I'm in.
I think we should play like you guys were talking about in our top 5 board games. You and Chris. We should play Othello and we should rent tuxes because we were saying how Othello felt like you were James Bond.
Yes.
Like on the Riviera.
You're
green felt and it looks very fancy. Like
you're it. You know.
We should play it very seriously.
Yeah, I'm in. So
Group Rocket League. I don't really do a lot of online competitive. I got that all out of my system with Halo back in the day, and I'm good now. There you go. Just
by the way, me and Pete are going to be playing some Group Rocket League later on today. So
nice.
And with that, I bid you adieu.
Oh,
Gary, I'm going to go work on my project. I wanted to tell you thank you for letting me hijack the show.
Absolutely, anytime.
Also, thank you, really, truly, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being a sounding board. Because it really is helpful because you make a certain noise when you don't like something. It's like a polite, like
that's not. This is confabulation.
You go, well, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
That's a choice. That's what you say. You go, that's a choice.
Yeah, that's one way to go. One way.
And I go like this. No,
yeah.
Good.
Scribbling.
No,
wadding up paper. Yeah. Yeah. No, believe me, I know I'm always happy to do it. And I love listening to your process and how ideas bubble up with you. And I like being the sounding board. But I will also probably having you return the favor. Maybe when I'm writing D versus M4, I think because there's some of that I think 4 is going to be the most difficult to write of all of them. And I'll probably be looking for a lot of like, is this the right way to go with this? Is this like, does this make sense to you? And I think just for, a glimpse for people who are watching or D versus M people, I think it's going to be the first time I've written something in forever. Like the last time I wrote something like this was when I was trying to write a fantasy novel in college, where you have 5 or 6 strong, significant characters all bouncing off each other and trying to juggle that. Like I feel very comfortable if I'm writing 2 or 3 people, bouncing off each other. But once you get like 5 or 6 in a room, it's like I think I can do it, but it's going to be just more difficult than what I usually do. So
not trying to brag, Gary, but I got 4 likes and 2 comments already. I'm winning, and this is what matters.
That is what matters.
Family doesn't matter.
If it's not on social media, it didn't happen, guys. I think Jim and I most of all feel that way more than anybody. More than even Corey Kerr. We believe that social media is important.
It's like
good for you. Good for your emotional health.
It's like Corey Kerr always says, AI, all in. Just enjoy the ride. And I agree. It's like Corey says, for years he's been using it to design his designs. And,
all the time Corey is telling me, he's like, Gary, the future is inevitable. Like you need like this technology is coming, and best you just get in position to receive it. That's what he says to me, and I just feel like, Corey, it's a little hard and kind of pervy the way you said that. But he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He won't accept any pushback.
Well, with the line, Corey, a little hard and kind of pervy, I will bid you a farewell, because this is a class act right here. And
it is.
Thank you, and thank you all, and everybody on, Chris, Corey, Gary, Dee Dee, Josh, if Frank's on, Frank, all of you. Thank you for the support. You guys make it fun, and I think we can all agree that we need to really watch that Scott Circling guy. He's up to something.
Yeah. I want to know. Yeah. What? Yeah.
I don't want to
know.
I don't want to know because I like him. But all right, guys. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate it.
Congratulations on the new project, and I think I speak for everyone where we're excited to see the little updates.
I'm very happy. I'm at a stage right now where I'm very happy with the road ahead of this project. Like I finally got it. Like, okay, now here's where it needs to be. So now it's time to do it. So if you could stay on for like 5 or 6 more hours, that would be great, so I can draw to it.
You bet.
Okay.
Sure. No problem. No. Yeah. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to do that. To hell with him. No, that's great. I'm very excited that I got that exclusive. I'm very excited that it's out there. Now I can, like that. I've been careful not to accidentally bring up the full fungus because it wasn't time to reveal the name. Okay. Where are we at? Yes. Get excited. Here we go. Hour 1, everybody. Well, I'll just start reading Lonesome Dove to you. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm caught up on the chat. I did not have a topic in mind today. I knew Jim was going to pop in. I was going to talk about fiction. I was going to talk about 3-ish pages done. I'm continuing to think about the future direction of this channel once I get done drawing, and I'm probably not doing weekly live streams. Or maybe I am. I don't know. This is something I talked about, I think, a couple weeks ago. I'm trying. There are 2 paths I can take with this YouTube going forward. One is to do exactly as I've been doing, which is whatever I want, whenever I want, and not be particularly intentional with it, and just treat it like the analogy I used before. I'll be at that coffee shop sitting at the back table. Anybody who wants to show up and join me while I'm writing or drawing or thinking about whatever, like I'll be there, come hang out. Like I can do it, like continue to do it like that, which I may. Or I can try to be more intentional with it and really try to think about like, who is my audience with this? Do I want to grow my audience? What kind of content would do that? What kind of content does my audience want? Like actually get into that, which I have to admit, just on its face, not particularly interesting to me, because I've always preferred pouring my energy into work as opposed to whatever this is. That said, I would like to get at least this coming year, once I get the comic done, better at increasing, like I would like to increase not my visibility, but D versus M's visibility. When I think about it objectively, it's kind of a miracle I've sold any books at all, and much less hundreds of them. You know, like it's because I really kind of treat like the actual getting the book out there for people to read it as a total afterthought. I really can't be bothered most of the time. I have no problem spending months or years coming up with ideas, developing an idea, getting a script written, doing all my research, doing all my page planning, doing all my drawing, coming up, getting it ordered, getting it printed, paying that money, and then I just sort of like, all right, on to the next one. Again, it's a miracle I've sold any. I guess if I'm feeling kind to myself, I get like the bright side of that is it's sort of a testament to maybe it's a testament to the quality of the work that I have sold any, because I don't do a lot of selling like me, like actively pitching and going on channels with strangers. And I hear other comic guys I know, other indies, talking about getting into Diamond, and I can tell you, I'm going to confess right now, I hope no one's listening, I kind of don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. Like, I am completely like, I make the books, I print the books, I put them on my Etsy once in a while. I sell some outside of Etsy. Once in a while, I'll go to a con and I'll make a pitch, like a point of sale pitch, like someone's walking by. It's like, this is my book. This is what it's about. And I'll sell some there. And that's like the complete extent of my effort with it. And even that sometimes feels like a burden. Like you've heard me talk about, I go to some of these cons and it's exhausting. I just don't. And I'm selling books and I'm still kind of like, ugh, it's killing me. Like, I would much rather just be doing the work and making things. And I kind of just want like the rest of it to take care of itself, which I'm realizing at some point, maybe I've already hit it. I don't know. Like, there's an upper limit to how out there you can be when you're doing the minimal amount of effort I am when it comes to that side of it. And don't get me wrong, I have no dreams or ambitions for this. It's like, I want to sell 1 million books. I want the HBO D versus M series. I want to make $1 gazillion. I want to quit my day job. Like, I don't, it's not where my head is. My head is merely at, I'm doing all this work. I think it's something. Like, there's something special here. I'm not saying it's the best comic that's ever been written. I'm not even trying to write the best comic that's ever been written. But I think it's worthy of reading. And I think there are people out there, I know there are people out there who really enjoy it. Therefore, there's probably more of them. And if I'm going to put this much time into it, people who would like it should have the opportunity to discover it. Like, it's just like, I feel like, okay, I always use that analogy of my approach to work is a little bit like the guy with the model railroad set in his basement, where it's not really about people. There's no like, oh, I'm going to sell tickets for people to look at my model railroad. It's like, I'm enjoying just making this thing. But I'm also not interested in like, I have a secret model railroad in my basement that nobody knows about and I never show anybody. Like, of course, if people want to come look at the railroad, I'm happy to show it off. And that's kind of where I'm at with D versus M right now. So this, to me, almost feels like competing poles. There's part of me that's like, I don't want to be very intentional with the selling because it's gross. But there's another part of me that's like, but I would like it, if people who would enjoy the book got to enjoy the book. That's what I'm trying to sort out. I'm hoping I'll sort it out once I finish this one and have some time to kind of let the dust clear, it probably won't be right away, because when I finish this, by the time I get it printed and out and everything, I'll probably have to rush immediately into the variant cover, because I've got Phoenix Fan Fusion coming in whatever that is, late May or something. So I'm not going to have a lot of time for self-reflection. But once I get Fan Fusion behind me, then I probably will be sitting and thinking about the bigger things like the trade, which will compile the first 3, and what I'm doing. What am I doing here? Do I need an agent? Do I want an agent? Do I want to talk to publishers? My gut right now, again, between you and me, I don't know if I want that. Like, I like, this is my moonlighting gig, you know? Right now, the script gets done when I think it's right. Right now, I start drawing when I feel like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to start drawing. And now I do a page a week, and it's done when it's done. And I can tell you the way my disposition is as a fussy artist. The moment, it wouldn't even have to be hard pressure from a publisher. The moment someone was like, so do you have an ETA on the last one? I would want to just quit and never do it again. Like, I can't deal with impersonal demands on this. I can't, it's not necessarily a great quality. I mean, I think in some ways it's good. It keeps it pure. It keeps it what it needs, what I want it to be. On the other hand, like, there is an element of me where any kind of external weird expectation or demand of me, like, I feel it in my body, just like a wall go up. Like, I can't, because I immediately recognize it as in conflict with the mentality that I think will create good work. I see them as almost in strict opposition. Now, that's not necessarily a correct thought, and it's not necessarily a helpful long-term thought, but that's kind of how I operate right now, where even the most modest expressed expectation by someone who I see as not a part of the process, I kind of resent. With, like, from, you know, I'll just leave it at that. But, like, it's just the reaction I have, and it's because, again, I have this model railroader mentality about it, where it's like, it would be exactly the same as if you knew a guy who's building this elaborate model railroad in his basement, and you showed up and you said, like, if I gave you $100, would you put a gas station with a sign on it that said Gary's Fill-Up Station? Like, can you picture the face he would make? That's me. That's how it works. Like, I think you've misunderstood what this is. This is my thing. My inclination when I'm talking about publishers and agents and all that is really to finish the entire thing and then go to people. Now, I don't know. I don't know. These are the things I need to work through. I'm going to check the chat real quick here. Let's see here. Nice. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, it's not always hate, but it's, for me, like acute disinterest, where I just can't even be bothered to think about it. I can't, like, I get one step into it. I'm not saying this literally, it's not ADHD or something, or ADD, but it when it comes to things that, you know, again, it's not just that I'm not interested in it, but there's this sense, rational or not, that it's a bad path to go down, that it will hurt the work if I spend too much time thinking about it. That's the what stuff where I'm like, no, I can't. I don't care. I don't know. I don't, you know. Right. Absolutely. I feel like, yeah, I feel good about this mix. I think I am just in the, and this is something I talked about a few weeks ago, in the spirit of how to make, worry isn't the right word. I do wonder if this channel is too alienating for outsiders. That if you know me or if you know D versus M, it's fun. You get to come, you get to listen to whatever's going on. Maybe you hop on and chat a little bit. Maybe you just lurk. If you're a fan, you get a sense of like, where are we in the process? When is the new book going to come out? You get a feel for that. But if you've never read a D versus M, if you don't know if you would even like D versus M, if you've never met me and you don't know if you want to talk to me, it's hard for me to imagine someone sitting and listening to this. Yes, there could be someone who wants to do indie comics and they're hoping to glean a little bit about what that looks like from me. There might be some of that. I mean, look, I've got some, I know I have subscribers that I don't know who they are, we've never, it's just mystery subscribers. But again, I wonder if there's sort of like an upper limit to that, the way I'm doing it. And so here's an easy example. I know more edited videos with specific topics, like page planning or whatever the thing is, writing a script, would not only have more general appeal and like newbie appeal, but it would be more accessible. Like, you would, it's probably more what my audience wants, maybe, or at least my potential audience, but it's more work for me. Like, and now let's say I wanted to do that. Let's say like I want to serve, I have this idea that my audience is indies or would-be indies, people who are sitting there and they've been thinking about it, but they haven't started yet. So what would serve them? Well, kind of like process and how-to videos. Now the way I think of it, this is pejorative language, but it shows now I've built a little cage for myself where once a week I got to think about like, what's my video this week? And that's where it's like, do I really want to do that? What's the payoff for that? And is it worth the expenditure? And I don't know. And some people I know, there's people in this chat, there's people watching who do it. Like Scott Serplin does it. Once a week, there's a video with a definable topic, with a title that you can understand. And he goes and he does it. And he's very good at it. He's been doing it for a long time. And I'm sure he would say like, yeah, it's a little bit of work, but it's not that much and it doesn't distract me from anything else. Maybe that's because he's very practiced at it. Maybe he's just better at that than I would be. It's hard for me to imagine that wouldn't start to feel like a weird bullshit obligation, So like, I don't know if that's necessarily the right path for me. I don't know. Yeah. I think my tendency is to do what works for me and let the chips fall where they may. Like that's generally how I've been doing it. And it sort of worked. It kind of works. I mean, Headspace works for the books and the channel. Both are very good because of how it engages the process. So I'm gonna chew on that. Oh, thank you. That's very nice, Dee. It does take time for people to find. Like, I know there's probably dozens and dozens of YouTube channels I would love to subscribe to, and I would be excited every time there's a new video. And I don't know. Like, it's more than lives. Yeah. Well, it's funny. Lives are lower effort, no question. And even if I go the normal amount of time I go with these, which is like 2 hours, still less of a time commitment than doing a good 30-minute polished video. Because a 30-minute polished video, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be sitting and recording for an hour. First of all, I'm probably going to write out, I'm not going to write it like a script, but I'm going to have bullet points. Like, I'm going to have a set, like, what am I talking about? That's what I used to do. And then I sit and record. And because it's going to be recorded, like, I'm not a nut about, like, oh, I could have worded that a little bit better, or, oh, that didn't come out quite clean. But, like, I do try to, like, get a good take. So I'm getting all these takes, and then you're editing all this together. And then you might look at, like, am I going to do some visual aids? Am I going to have some stuff pop up? By the time you do all that, even if you're talking like a 30-minute video, it's going to be way longer than 2 hours of effort. Okay? So, like, even a 2-hour live stream is actually the smallest commitment in terms of, I think, like, the video options go. The lowest commitment is to appear on somebody else's channel. That's like the easiest thing in the world, you know, because it probably won't go 2 hours. I probably don't really have to prepare anything other than just start kind of thinking about it, like a few hours or a day before. Like, what do I want to talk about? Is there any specific point I want to make? And then you just show up and you do your thing. Like, that's the lowest effort. The next lowest effort is a live stream. And then, like, then you start getting into, like, produced videos where it gets a little involved. And there will be those in my future. Like, once I get this one out, there'll be a character creation and analysis video on Dr. Wagner from this book. And there's some other things I've been wanting to do videos on that I just haven't, because I want to take the time to get it, like, to make my little pitch or little speech just right. But yes. Which also will never be a problem. But that's also why I get a little militant about anything outside of that. Anytime I see something that I worry is going to take away from what I think is the most important thing, which is that, or the next one, or the next one, or the one after that, like, that almost is like an argument, even if it's like 5%. If I think in my mind, true or not, that something I'm thinking about doing will make this even 1% worse, it's out. It's out. It's why I've talked about this. It's why I don't do live drawing. Like, I feel like me thinking about people watching me draw, even if that's 1% of my brain, it's 1 less percent on the drawing. So it's out. I'm not doing it. Like, and that's kind of just to give you a sense of, like, how intense I can be about the making of these. Like, it's, so you can imagine that if it's like, oh, you know, should send stuff to Image or whatever, you know, it's like, do I want that in my life? Yeah, first of all, I recognize some people, it's like, it's a little optimistic to think like they would even want it. I don't know if they would. But part of me is like, what is the best case scenario here? Like, to me, it's like either they don't take it, which now I just wasted my time, or they do, and now I got to deal with them. Like, there's none of that. What do I get out of that? Like, what? I don't know. It's hard. All of that seems like just distractions from what's important, and what's important is my process and preserving the integrity of the work and not getting distracted by anything outside of that. Yeah. But the problem, so this go back. So the problem with live streams is it's us hanging out, and it's me mostly monologuing because you're not in the room with me, going back and forth. And so it can be meandering, it can be sort of sloppy. There have been times I don't regret anything I've ever said on a live stream, but there are times where I wish I didn't make my point as clearly or as crisply as I wanted to. There are times, especially with the AI imagery, I wish I could go back and say no, here's the best way to think about it, and I just, because you're in the moment, you're just talking and you're not really, it's natural conversation. So it's not like a perfect little 5-paragraph essay. I think this for these three reasons, 1, 2, 3, as you can see, and I do admire when it comes to trying to talk about something important, tidiness and sharpness and crispness in the points. It's so much. And I've gotten better at it. I'm pretty good at editing video, and I can do it a lot faster than when I started, but it's a lot of time. And it's kind of like a goldfish thing where however big the bowl is, the problem with video stuff is in my opinion, the better you get at it, the better you can make it. Therefore, the time spent with it never goes down. You just continue to think of you just get better and better, and you think of more things you can do, and you're still spending the same amount of time, even though your process has gotten more efficient. But yeah, I could do that, and that's something I have done. On way back in the day, I went on Dan Eakes' channel and drew Spider-Man with him. That I can kind of get away from, but when it comes to project work, I can't do it. Yeah. Okay. I see we've got Corey Kerr popped up in the green room. So
They got him.
And there he is. I recognize Corey Kerr's voice anywhere. That was it right there.
Yeah.
Oh, my voice already?
No, I heard one of the kids talking. I was like, well, he sounds different, but okay.
Oh yeah, Maddox is playing Spider-Man in the studio with me today. So.
Oh, fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this going to be the next Esoteric Crumbleflux?
Yeah. So I've been really struggling with it, but I'm looking at doing something on the military-industrial complex.
Oh yes.
So yeah,
Very cool.
Slowly.
Am I looking? The sketch of the face. Am I looking at a boar, or what am I seeing there?
It's a mix. It's a mix of different animal totems and pagan gods and things.
Got it.
Kind of as a commentary of certain people worshiping at the feet of just building destruction.
Yes.
I'm trying to. I was really annoyed because in my mind, I imagined that the song "Generals Gathered in Their Masses, just like witches at black masses." I thought there was a line in that had pigs.
Oh.
The name of the song is War Pigs, but there's no.
But there's no actual. No actual lyric.
So, in my brain, that made a lot more sense than it actually did eventually. But I'm still doing it.
I'm not actually asking you for analysis because I don't know what your attitude is. I personally don't like to get into what I mean with my things, and what I'm trying. I don't want to give people the decoder ring, but right. I'm intrigued by the alluring leg in this chimera of symbolism here. I think that's sort of interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying to show, and yeah, as far as like analysis or whatever, I don't do a lot of that, though. I'm trying to show the idea of like we've kind of made war sexy. We've made it kind of like a
Yeah.
media event. It
Yeah.
becomes kind of an alluring draw, you know? I mean, I think since like World War II, it became like a thing that the media would use for ratings. And so it's a bit of, and this might be a little bit of a reach, but it's a bit of a twist on sex sells. It's kind of like death
Right.
sells, you know, as far as advertising and journalism and those types of things. I just
What
think there's,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just think there's a sexiness that's been promoted to these tools that are meant to end lives.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. What is the building we have in the background? When you were fully zoomed in on the face, I just assumed it was the Roman Colosseum, but now that it's about, I see it's not. What is that?
It's kind of a generalized. It's not a specific building, but a lot
Just the state, like the.
a lot of state capitol buildings
Yeah.
will look this way, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's got. Let me just. I'll just make that darker, but yeah. So it's the idea of government.
Yes, got it.
Um,
Well,
and
so how long does it normally take you to finish one of these?
hours or days?
Okay. So sometime, will this be the next one? Or
Yeah.
is okay.
So I'll have. Sometimes I will have like multiple. I feel like I'm not on the screen. Hold on just a second.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there.
And I will make it much smaller because no one really needs to see that much. Sometimes I will have like multiples in the works, just in like various stages of sketchbooks or things, or I'll have like pieces of them. Like a lot of this is just really an excuse for me to draw things I want to draw.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll be like, oh, it'd be cool to draw like a bat wing, you know, that'd be kind of fun. And so I'll try to figure out, you know, or the first one was just I wanted to play with like a winged skeleton, you know. So I'll
Yeah.
have like pieces of stuff where I'm just kind of experimenting with things, and then beyond that, I usually try to finish one a week. But I've slowed down quite a bit. Like from a production schedule, I would normally be spending like 4 to 6 hours a day on stuff like this.
Mhm.
But with this series in particular, it's a lot less because I'm just trying to like balance things out a little bit better.
So, what would you say with each of these is the balance between imagery that you were just sort of excited to draw for whatever reason, like you said, like, oh, I want to do a bat wing or I want to do a whatever, and imagery that's intentionally symbolic? Like, where is that? My impression is that it heavily weighs toward the intentionally symbolic. Like you're choosing things.
There's nothing in there that doesn't have some meaning or at least a mood and a vibe that leans towards something. And so,
Right.
I haven't put anything in that doesn't have at least a vibe.
And that I'm assuming that's because it seems like you usually have an idea like this is going to be the theme or the topic or the idea in this one, and now you're going and finding the imagery that would fit that would express that. Do you ever kind of taken this isn't exactly right, but just for conversational, like a Jungian approach where it's like, these are the images that are in my brain right now. I'm just going to chase them. I don't know what it means. We'll figure it out when we get there.
Oh, some of these will start that way.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have kind of like three things. So on Trello, I have a list of like concepts that I want to approach, and I continue to add to that. So I recently have become very intentional about like my creative input and those types of things. And so anytime I'm curious about something, I usually will capture that, but now I'm definitely capturing it and organizing it and categorizing it. And so if there's all of this started because I was just like, I wonder how many different ways the world could end. And there are a lot of people that have this kind of like societal collapse theory out there,
Yeah.
and they're well researched and they're based on historical collapses of other societies or different types of things like that. And so I just went through and I just listed all the ones that were interesting to me. And then I have another list, and that could also be like I'll see something in the news or listen to a podcast or something. Like I have a story based on that I haven't drawn yet, but I have a story just based on a Radio Lab episode that I listened to about blood. And
About blood.
yeah, so a couple things in that episode. There are blood brokers, so there are, because blood is only viable for a certain amount of time.
Right.
And so there grew up out of necessity like a middleman brokerage system from donation to delivery. And then another segment of that podcast was the idea that they've done studies where you take the blood out of young mice and put it into old mice, and the old mice begin to revert back to and regain attributes of young mice.
Yeah.
So I have a story that's kind of based on this idea of Hollywood blood brokers and why we don't see most starlets past a certain age because they're being farmed, right? And so that's like a
Right.
and it's like sperm banks, like there's a certain viability to like the beauty or whatever, and so rich people are buying certain anyway. So there's like a whole story on that.
Sure.
So then I have another Trello board that's just full of like any random image that pops into my head that might be interesting to draw at some point. So that could just be like, squirrel, right? Or it could just be like at one point in time, I just wrote, a laser rooster. And that became like an animation, right? Or I had like eyeball monster or whatever. Like, and many, many times I will go back and they don't even make any sense. Like it was just a random, but sometimes like it's enough like randomness or just the sound of the word or the idea of a thing. The idea that like monkeys are playful. Like I have just a card that just says playful monkey. Like, I don't know what that's going to become,
Right.
but whenever I hone in on one of these, I can start with any of the three of those. I'll start with a concept. I'll start with a high level idea like nuclear power, or I'll start with just like laser rooster, and I'll try to build something around it. But by the end of the sketching phase, everything in it is extremely steeped in symbolism. There isn't anything in there that doesn't tie into whatever theme. But sometimes I discover the theme through exploring the visuals, and sometimes I discover the visuals through exploring the theme.
Got it.
So
Got it.
This whole project is just an excuse for me to not accomplish anything and draw whatever I want.
Well, that's sort of ridiculous, but I mean, you're absolutely accomplishing something. But so I have two thoughts. One was I just find through my own experience, and I think all the illustrators here will appreciate this. It takes so much time to draw. It's kind of hard not to be intentional with every element. I like it sort of invites that kind of richness in content, just because you're going to be sitting there for hours or days or whatever. Like and something I think I've talked about in past videos, like things that when you're writing a script wouldn't matter. Like, you're drawing a conference room and that probably would be a clock on the wall of the conference room. But then you're going to draw that page and now you have to make decisions. Okay, there's this clock. Well, what time is it? Now you have to pick the time. And that kind of invites this sort of, which is maybe good for a conspiracy comic, invites this kind of overthinking, of like, well, maybe I should pick a meaningful time. And I feel like I see some of that in what you're doing here, where it's like, well, I've got to put an element here. This has to be something. So it's going to have to be a meaningful thing. I don't know how to put together what I'm thinking about here. I imagine the people who are following you, the people who are enjoying these, there's a spectrum of what they like about it. Some are just completely superficially enjoying the imagery, and they're not listening to or reading the associated work, and they're not going into like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And what is it trying to say? They just love like the crazy imagery of it. Yeah. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there's probably people who are just interested in like the meat, like what are you trying to say? What are you talking about? Do I agree or disagree with him? And it becomes like this little internal conversation. I imagine, I don't know where the question is that, because it's just like a thought I had, but like, I imagine you'd be very disappointed with the former. You'd be very disappointed with someone who's just like, that's cool, that would be a cool tattoo. And then they go, and watch a video of like a cat playing a keyboard. Like, I mean, you would want them to kind of, at least on some level, be like, oh, he's saying, or oh, that's interesting, or whatever. But
if I was trying to convince people of something, then yeah, but I'm not.
Right.
Two responses to that, I think that are, it's interesting because on the one hand, I don't think it's really possible to divest, and I hate the whole conversation around what is art, but I don't think it's really possible to divest actual art from like some kind of meaning, right? And so even if the viewer or the user or the reader or the wearer of it doesn't agree with what I intended, there's still something there.
Sure.
And unconsciously, I think, everything has been codified to some extent. And so the mixture of those kind of symbols produce meaning, and that meaning might not be like, I don't think most people watch movies and break apart like, oh, like that reverse shot was composed in a way to elicit this type of emotion.
Right. Or this is an allegory for, yeah, right.
Yeah, but they still feel the emotion. You know what I mean? Like they'll still have an experiencing the art, but might not be able to articulate it or have a conscious thought about it. But subconsciously, it's effective in some way. And then the other thing is, I'm intentionally not being specific, or I would just say people should think this, and this is why.
Yeah.
It would be more like a political cartoon where I'm like, this person is bad, and here's something that he said that proves that point. Funny punchline on the fourth panel. Or
right.
Something.
Yeah.
And so I'm cool with, like, I've always, and this might be a little bit of a cop out, but I'm always happy with just raising questions. Like if something that I do causes somebody to go, oh, I wonder what that's about, and then they go draw their own conclusions from something. Like I think the world's a better place for having had somebody question something rather than not. I just think we're so numb to today's society that I would rather people consume my art and not get what I'm trying to say, but get something than not question anything ever.
Right.
And so either one is fine with me. In other words,
I'm curious.
Me to buy my work, go buy a shirt.
I'm a little curious if you're like me, or if we're similar in this way.
Yeah.
Which of these is more exciting and more satisfying to you, A or B? Someone reads your thing or listens to it and looks at the thing, and just strongly disagrees and wants to argue about, wants to debate. You're wrong about this, or someone consumes your work and goes like, yep, he's right. Like, which of those is more attractive and more satisfying to you?
Do I have to pick one of those two?
You have to pick, yeah.
Well, I hate debate, and I hate confrontation.
Okay. That's going to make you leave. Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, just the way that you said
it. You don't have to engage. Let's say you never even meet this person. This is a person you're totally unaware of. It's someone on the other side of a monitor somewhere in the world
Yeah.
that either looks at your thing and say like, yep, and goes about their day, or someone looks at it and it's like, this drives me crazy and I'm going to have to talk about, like, I read this thing on the internet today. I heard this guy and he's saying, you know, and it's like, now there's like, you know, some of this he's right, but I think he's taking it too far. Like, which of that is more enticing or attractive to you?
I mean, you're talking about somebody who disagrees but engages, or somebody who agrees but doesn't do anything with it.
Right.
Well, I would always be interested in somebody who does something with it more than not. Like,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, a disagreement or a partial disagreement that causes some kind of action or some sort of thought or some sort of discussion is better for me than a lack of engagement. Because I just think if you're not engaging, even if you agree, it just wasn't as impactful.
Right. And that's kind of where I was leaning too, whereas like, I think there's, and I don't mean provocative in the way we normally say it, but I think there is a value in stress testing a person's worldview, you know, and I think there's, I don't know, there's something, to me, the most kind of useless art, and again, like you, I'm never interested in the what is art. We talked about this. I never thought more about what is art until like the AI imagery thing popped up, but otherwise it was like, I don't even want to talk about this. This is stupid.
Right.
It was, I needed that extreme example, you know, like, okay, we can at least agree that it's not that, right? So, but you know, like, I'm not going to get farther than that. I'm not going to try and define it, but it's like, there's critical elements missing, you know, from this that would be art. But anyway, I lost my train of thought because now I'm thinking about AI imagery. I guess the point is, I think there's a something more about. Oh no, I know what it was. To me, the most boring kind of art out there is art that doesn't generate any kind of meaningful reaction.
Sure.
Like whether it's like mild agreement is to me like not even worth anything. You know, like if it's something like passionate, like, yes, when are you running for public office, Corey Kerr? Like, that's like something. Or if it's on the other end of the spectrum, like, you're full of shit. Like, no, you're all wrong about this, you're wrong about that, you're overreacting. Da, 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 da. Like, all of that to me, in terms of like creative output, is preferable as a reaction, you know, to just kind of like, yeah, it's kind of cool, and like going about their day. I think, I don't know. I think the best art is kind of polarizing, but
yeah. Well, and I would. One thing that came to mind as you were talking is I don't even necessarily agree with everything I'm saying. Sometimes I'm just exploring a topic. You know, like I'm not putting stuff out there that I think is wrong. You know, I'm not like intentionally being subversive. By the way, Josh has a really good.
Josh has been really. I'm missing a lot of.
Yeah, he said.
I'm waiting on the chat.
He said, "I don't even know what Corey is going to say yet, but he's wrong." And we need
totally wrong.
Yeah.
That guy doesn't know.
Yeah.
Paul is happy that one of your shirts protects his modesty. So that
is a major part of the shirt is to function as some sort of covering.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so that's good. I'm protecting people from getting kicked out of stores.
It's good. Yeah, I mean, it's a basic requirement to most places. Why is such an important thing for artists? I agree. I think what's interesting, and this maybe, I don't know, I'm not pitching this, but maybe a future Artcasters discussion is like the whys. And what I've always been interested in, because I know every artist I meet falls somewhere different on the spectrum in this topic. On one end of the spectrum, there's artists that they're very clearly trying to communicate an idea or a message to you, and they want you to get it. and there's no other acceptable interpretation of their work. On the other end of the spectrum, there are artists who had an intention, and it's like locked in a vault somewhere. Like they don't want to talk about it. It's for you to decide what this is. You know, like you're going to have an individual experience with this work. I don't want to sway you or color you or, you know, put you in any direction. Or I suppose an even more extreme version of that is someone who's working purely inspirationally. They couldn't even tell you what it was. And like, they're just like, look, I just put a thing out there. I'm not going to talk. I don't want to talk about what it means or what it is. You can tell me what you think it means. I'd be curious, like, you know, especially amongst our circle, like where everyone kind of falls in that. That might be a topic for someday. I don't know if you guys would be interested. But
Yeah. Do you have pieces that fit both categories? Because I have some.
Yeah.
I have some that I find just. I've decided I will never describe what I meant by it because I found what everybody else got from it so much more interesting.
Yes. Well, I find, I think I'm somewhere, I probably lean more to, well, not probably, I definitely lean more toward not wanting to just reveal every element of my decision making and what I was trying to do and what I was trying to say.
Whereas
Because
I've started an entire newsletter that deep dives into like what I'm talking about.
Right, but I think you're doing a very different thing, in my opinion. Like, in my impression, like when I, you know, if I'm doing like basically a sci-fi, like an imagined reality thing, you know, like I think something I talked about, I think months ago is the utility of the camouflage of genre, you know, that genre, it gives you cover to talk about things that if you were talking about them explicitly, you might polarize or like have people shut down. If I find a back door where you're not, it's not, and to me, the go-to example is, I've brought this up before, it's a safe example. Everyone who's waiting for the Star Wars thing, take a drink, is Andor. To me, Andor is very much looking at, and you can tell the writers when you read their interviews, they sat and did a deep dive into how revolutions and rebellions work, like how they start, how they get going, the challenges they face, and like, you know, how that eventually transforms into power. There's lots of historical examples of that you could do a show about. And like the one I go to, just because it's an inflammatory example, like you could do a series about the Cuban Revolution. But now immediately half, I mean, not necessarily numerically half, but a huge chunk of your audience doesn't even want to hear it, you know, because it's like, because they have very strong feelings about that.
Right.
That's the camouflage of genre. Let's find a different way to talk about this where I'm not going to alienate everybody. It's space. It doesn't matter. You don't have to pick a side. You know, like there's no one out there saying like, no, the Empire's done a lot of good things. Like you don't have to, you don't worry about that. It's like this, and this allows us to talk about rebellion. It allows us to talk about collateral damage. It allows us to talk about, you know, like really cold-blooded decisions, you know, and try to getting a rebellion going. And I don't have to worry about alienating anybody because they don't have a dog in the fight. That's kind of how I think most genre stuff, when it's best, that's what it's doing. And it's what I do try to do with D versus M a little bit. It's like, this is a way for me to talk about things where no one's going to be like, yeah, but I'm on the side of the aliens. Or, yeah, but I see the point of view of the Man in Black. Like, there's no, you know, like it's just removed enough where you can sort of take it in. I'm not trying to brainwash anybody. I'm not trying to like convince anyone of everything. I'm just trying to explore ideas in a way that's removed from reality enough where you're not going to shut down because like you're just going to be open to hearing the conversation. That's what I'm looking for. That's
the Twilight Zone Rod Serling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
He, for those that don't know, he had a bunch of stuff to say politically about immigrants and racism and classism and a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And was shut down. Just they were like, no, you can't say this.
Yeah.
So then he's like, oh, I've got a totally different idea about aliens and monsters and
Right.
stuff. And he said
Okay,
the
we
same
won't do
stuff.
that. We'll do something about exactly. And it's the same thing. It's just it's now safe. I mean,
Right.
Star Trek. I think Star Trek, its biggest accomplishment, the original series especially, but Next Generation as well, is it's doing that. It's finding a way to talk about real things, but diffusing the whatever kind of baggage an audience might bring to it.
Yeah, right.
Let's see here. I'm way behind on chat, guys. I apologize. Let's see here. So Josh was saying, teaching people why was one of the hardest things to get students to unlock. Having a reason for their art choices. And it is, I would say, especially, yes, I would agree. For design and illustration, it's good to know what you're trying to accomplish. I would suggest when it comes to more creative stuff, I don't know. I don't know if I want to go down, die on this hill, but I would feel like it gets less and less important depending on what you're doing. Especially if you, on one end of the spectrum, if you're doing abstract art, if you're Rothko and you're painting, I don't know if it really what am I saying? I don't know if that's necessarily important. If you're Jackson Pollock, doing the splatter paint, I don't know if you need to know so much what you're doing.
Well,
I would
he was going for something very interesting. Because originally I thought Jackson Pollock and everybody that was abstract was just stupid because they just don't know how to draw. I mean, it's very,
Right.
I still feel that way about a lot of fine art. But
I have to admit I do too. But also a lot of weird experimental and abstract art. I'm kind of a stick in the mud about it.
But I like, after having read a lot of the things that he said about his process, I understand that for him, it was a transformative experience to create the art, and the art was secondary to the experience.
Yeah.
And the fact that people enjoyed the results of him having that experience kept him employed, but that wasn't his deal. You know what I mean? And so that I can kind of respect that. It's when the fine artists come in and just try to justify just the biggest pile of BS. And it's like, come on, man, just admit that what you're saying is BS.
Yes.
I get that you're trying to sell your thing or whatever, but when you curse a sphere of air that doesn't exist above a podium and tell everybody that,
Yes.
you removed all
Who
things.
I bet Josh would be the one who would know this. Was it
Josh Brooks, yeah.
Was it Duchamp or Bouchamp?
The
one, the urinal where it's now this is art. And there's this guy I follow on YouTube who is saying I want to make this a thing. I want it to be shorthand on the internet among hipster creative types where it's you're Duchamping, where it's you're taking something and now it's not the quality. This was his what he wanted to get going, and I loved the concept. Was it's not the quality of the art that matters. It's your rhetorical ability to sell it. It's your ability to convince someone this is art. It's well, what is beautiful anyway? What is art anyway? And now suddenly you've got a urinal with a price tag on it. This idea of it doesn't even matter what the art is. Now the art is the selling of it. That is the art. That is the performance, really, is to try and find a way to bamboozle everybody into saying no, I see what you're saying.
Right.
And
I have misunderstood Josh's take on Dadaism. What is it? I can't remember.
Dadaism, I think.
Dada, yeah. I'm saying it wrong. I'm saying it like Data from Star Trek, but Dada. I like why he likes it. It also pisses me off that it exists at all because it just and I don't want to speak for Josh.
But I knew, by the way, I knew he would know this. I was if anybody is going to remember Duchamp, yeah, it's okay. But
and the next line was because he was a troll.
Because he was a troll. Yeah, absolutely. But like, so this guy I was listening to, he was saying like, but that's like, this is high level art. The art is convincing the dipshit gallery crowd that this is art when it is not, you know, like convincing that you're not trolling, you know, that this is, no, this is the next thing. Now this guy I listened to, he went even farther and he was saying like Jackson Pollock is this, basically, he considers them the same thing, that this is nonsense. And it's all just like the presentation of it that has become this weird performance art of like convincing people this is something. I actually like Pollock. So I cringe when it's like, I don't know if I can follow you down that path, but I get what he's saying.
I do think, I don't know, like I like, there's like, I'm of two minds of it, because I like that somebody went in and was like, the whole system is rigged and it's stupid, and watch me just troll everybody and make millions off of it. Because, you know, that's a type of rebellion that I can get behind.
Yeah.
But it pisses me off that to a certain extent, even he was used by the system to promulgate the system. Like, It wasn't like he was tearing the system down. And I'm all about tearing down power structures, not making fun of them while helping them get more powerful.
Right.
So,
yes.
Yeah, you know, I mean, yeah. Because the idea is,
like, to me, I don't know if this is exactly the same thing you're expressing, but that's where I admire these stories about all these. They've done actual like little studies where they'll have wine connoisseurs taste like $12 bottles of wine next to $450 bottles of wine, and like, can you pick? And they'll, you know, they're completely incapable of recognizing like quote unquote good or bad wine. Like, to me, I love that stuff because it shows that it's all a big fugazi. Like, it's all just bullshit. Yeah. Like, there's nothing here. Like, you've invented this whole, and that to me, with like this other guy I'm talking about, that's Duchamping, I think, where it's like, no, this is different. This is special. You don't understand. If you really understood, like, you would appreciate, and it's all just made up.
Yeah. Well, and along those lines with the wine stuff, it's not just that they were tricking the wine critics or connoisseurs into saying that cheap wine is good wine.
Yeah.
But they took white wine and they gave it to them and had them write about it. And then they dyed it red with food coloring, the same white wine, and brought it out. And then they described it as if it was red wine when it was really white wine that was dyed red.
Right.
So it doesn't even taste different unless it's like, but they had a totally different experience. I don't know. I just think, I will tell you, and I hesitate saying this publicly because she's a very nice person, but I had a class in my master's degree that was doing art criticism. And I really was trying to understand, and to my professor's credit, she literally spent like hours with me. Like, I'm just really trying to find, because I come from a communication background, and so like message and audience are just kind of ingrained in the way that I communicate, because that's just it's industry and whatever. And so you go into a place that, you know, the rules of industry don't apply, and I was really struggling to just find what it was that I was supposed to be doing or thinking about or anything. Mm-hmm. And so we talked for a long time, and then I said, I think I understand, and so let me go take a stab at this, and I'll get you a draft, and you tell me whether I'm on the right boat or not. And so I went out with the intention to say absolutely nothing in the most pretentious and verbose way that I could. And the feedback that I got was, yeah, you nailed it. Now you understand. And I was like, I actually do think I do understand now, but probably not in the way that you think.
Not the way yes, right.
Like, but she and she's a genuinely nice person, but she was like, you know, she was so excited because I had this like epiphany that opened my mind to art criticism. And the reality of it was, that I just was like, I'm going to ape the most pretentious people I could think of, and then just play act with intentional meaninglessness in this paper. And I got a very good grade on that paper because that's what art criticism is for the most part.
Yeah.
I don't want to make a blanket.
Well, it's also, I mean, look, some professors I wouldn't have tried this with, but at least in my college experience, kind of what paper writing in college is a little bit like. Like you quickly learn, like, this is the way you say things to make it seem like you know what you're talking, you're having interesting thoughts and you're saying, very insightful things. And it's all, you're bamboozling them. And sometimes it's easier to learn how to write something that will bamboozle a mediocre professor than to actually do the work. I know I found that when I was in high school and college. Like I said, I would try it with all professors, but there was some where it's like, I know how to write well enough to make this seem like I know what I'm talking about, to make it seem like I did the reading, to make it seem like, I know how to, I know what they're used to reading and I know what they are hoping to read, and I can kind of emulate that enough where I can pass it. To me, it's sort of the same family of things where you know the steps, you know the moves, you know how to do this, you know how to pitch something. But,
and now that I've been teaching longer, I do wonder if I pulled the wool over her eyes or if she was just tired.
Or exactly. If just like, I'm not gonna.
This isn't worth the fight.
At least he's making an effort in a weird way. I'll take the win, whatever. I made him work a little bit, not in the way I intended, but whatever.
Yeah, because there are times where I don't give people grades that they don't deserve, but there are times where I'm like, you still don't get it, but you technically met the minimum requirements that I asked for. So that's according to the grading, at least a C. And so then we look at like quality, or whatever. But it's like, so sometimes I do wonder, in all fairness, that, I do wonder if she was just like, I've already spent 4 hours of my office hours with
right. This is enough.
I've earned my 3 credits.
Yeah. That's very, very, very possible.
Yeah. But I do think most art criticism is a crock. There was a very famous art critic on Twitter that dug himself a hole, and I was so close because he contradicted himself in so many logical fallacies. I actually have screenshots of like his responses to other people, and I wrote a whole video response to this guy, and then I was like, nah, that's one of these things I'm not going to do. Like I was going to just, I had done everything except record it and edit it and publish it. Like it was all the prep work, it was all the argument. And then I was like, that's enough. Like, I don't like, cause I'm not one of those, like, let's pile on and trash this guy publicly or whatever. But I mean, he's also the most condescending, like prideful a-hole. Like it would definitely be punching up.
Yeah.
But I didn't do it. But it's people like that I'm like, you guys are why normal people hate art. Like it's because you're just a jerk. Like you think you're better than they are because, they're a construction worker or you're, or they're a plumber or something. And it's like that guy is just as valid as you are and has just as skilled in a different discipline, if not more so, and has more utility to society. And yet you are making them feel stupid and they hate art because of it.
Yeah.
And I hate those people. I don't very many people, but I hate those people.
No, I appreciate, and that's something that I think, I guess I was aware of that element. I've become more aware of it in the past few months. And again, for the record, do not want to have another AI imagery conversation. But
it seems like you do, because you keep bringing it up.
I really don't. But you know what it has done recently? So I don't know if you've noticed this too. I mostly try to check out of it because I'm just over it, don't care I've come full circle. I remember the first conversation we had. It's like I can't get interested enough in this to even talk about it. And like now I'm kind of all the way back there. But this is I'm jumping off what you just said. I'm not going to talk about AI imagery. I have noticed a lot of these. I don't know how many. I'm saying a lot. I'm not saying most. I'm not saying I don't know how many. But there's at least a noticeable number of these people who are really chasing the AI imagery, really into it. With what I would describe, and I'd be curious if you've noticed this too. And going back to, I think, Josh's thing, there's almost like a level of trolling. It's almost like, and the vibe I get, and sometimes they say this almost explicitly, all you snooty artists were gatekeeping, and now you're just mad that like we're here and we're making art too, just like you. You thought you were so much better than this is the voice, like you thought you were. It's very straw man, but it's like you thought you were so much better than us. You're so special, you're so talented, and now your panties are all in a bunch because we're doing AI imagery, ha ha ha. And it almost feels like a weird, like we're getting you back. Like there's this weird anger or hostility in it, or kind of this like bad attitude to it that like I have to like literally is sort of like kind of a minor revelation to me, where it's like, oh, I didn't realize there was this saltiness, of like people out there who really felt like artists were doing this to them. I didn't realize. I don't feel like I've ever done that to anybody. I'm not doubt. I know there are artists who have, and you just brought them up. I know they're out there, but I didn't realize that had left such a mark on some people.
Yeah.
Where like this is now, I feel like a lot of their motivation is like, oh, it's now the worm has turned, guys. It's kind of like I didn't even realize that was such a thing. That's what made me think of it. You bringing it up was like I'm still kind of grappling with this weird bitterness that I'm perceiving with some of these people in their AI imagery journey. Have you picked up on any of that too? Has anyone else been seeing that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that. I probably read it a little bit differently than you have because I think it's a bit of a. So I have a theory with humans in general that people are incapable of doing something that they feel is wrong, and so they have to go through some sort of rationalization or justification on how it's not wrong for them or it's not wrong in that situation, right? And so like people obviously do wrong things all the time, but I think the process to actively choose to do that, you have to justify it first. Mm-hmm. And so to me, that sounds a lot like most of the time that I'm seeing that argument, it's just somebody who's not willing to do the work and is justifying feeling bad about not doing the work.
Well, no, I think those can coexist.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I think, and this is from someone who's been in years of therapy, I think there's what you think you're doing it for and maybe what you're actually so I think maybe they think they're like striking back at the people who have made them feel bad. I think the more core thing is what you're talking about. Like no one's making them feel. No one can make you feel anything. You're choosing how to feel. You're choosing to put value on how people feel about you. So it's there is some actual it's misdirected, I think. But I do think those can be in the same person. You can have a person who thinks like I'm lashing back at this snooty elite culture of artists that have never wanted to give me the time of day.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. That is not to me, that's not a genuine like that just on its face, it's like, well, that's a bunch of bullshit. That's not what's really going on in this person's this is, this goes farther back and is bigger than that. But But Josh, though, let's see here, wants to fight. Josh, let's see here, where I saw one in here.
Paul says,
Let's all embrace our superiority. I mean, we are better than non-artists. Josh is just shoveling coal into the furnace of this hate engine that's rocketing down the railway. I mean, yeah, it's
you gotta jump to Paul's. Corey, you haven't enjoyed moments of full depravity. You haven't lived.
yeah.
I just think, yeah. So with that theory,
just Snooty Elite casters. Like that. Just do a special episode.
I don't know if that's an absolute statement or belief in my mind, but I do think it is. I will say it's at the very least extremely difficult for somebody to do something that they know is wrong without some sort of justification. Now, I still think that justification is a surface level band-aid to a bigger problem, and deep down they still probably know it's wrong. I don't think they've actually convinced themselves, but I think you've got to go through that mental gymnastics of that type of stuff. And so it's the idea of everybody's a hero in their own story, right? You know, like I think, you know, like Netflix's Daredevil, Kingpin in that was played very well and was written very well, but his speech where he's like talking about the Good Samaritan and he's like, I'm the robber who beat him half to death and the world needs that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to.
I find it really difficult to believe that. I think even like super evil people that are, you know, that are saying like I'm in the slave trade or whatever, like they all had justifications that they would say, you know, like everybody has things that Hitler had reasons that he thought were valid. They were wholly evil and totally not valid, but
sure.
I don't know, you know, and I'm sure that there's, you know, there's exceptions to that and whatever. I don't know if it's a universal truth, but it's definitely a pattern. And so when I see people making that argument, yeah, but here's what I think. Those excuses that they have, those, you know, an artist was mean to me one time, or a critic, whatever, or it's always somebody's high school teacher or somebody's junior high teacher or something told them that they drew the duck wrong.
Or I've never sold any of my shit, and now people are looking at it. You know, I mean, right.
I mean, based off of sales, I should have given up art a decade ago. But
and that goes by part of why the whole conversation is not interesting to me, because it's like I think we're chasing different things. If you're just looking for clicks and sales, I don't even.
Oh, I would be doing something
about different things. Like I can't even relate to what you're after. So
yeah. Okay, now here's an old thing that I thought of in the middle of this.
Okay.
And now I'm trying to decide whether I want to include it or not. There is a verse. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going off of is religious iconography, old heraldry, right? Like heraldic types of things, and tarot. It's kind of mixing a lot of those types of things, plus like modern symbols. This is my interpretation of one of the seals being opened in Revelations, that where he says, you know, everything can be bought and sold, and you know, here's a penny for a wheat and this much for, you know, a farthing for a bushel of whatever. I can't remember the whole thing.
Yeah.
This actually ended up in where is it? In one of my older pieces of this angel. So this is his sleeve tattoo.
Oh, look at that.
And I've got this, and it's, I don't know. Now I'm trying to, so this is the type of thing, like we've got the olives, right? You've got the old wineskin pouring out. Mm-hmm. You've got the destruction, and you've got the kind of penny. And so all of that like is in that verse that is said when it opens the dispensation of, I can't remember exactly what it is.
I don't remember the phrasing either.
Justice, or it's not, who is that guy? It's not war. So that's, famine. So that's famine.
Okay.
And it's interesting to me that we're talking about scarcity and trade when we're talking about famine, because I think there's enough like there's enough food and money to go around, but
Yes.
it's not going around. You know what I mean? Like if you just look at what the cruise ships throw away, we could feed whole countries. Like just like that.
Yeah.
And we're just dumping it. But anyway, like so that occurred to me while we were talking, and now I've got to figure out if I want to incorporate some or all of this, knowing full well that the 6 people watching this live stream are the only ones that are going to get the reference. You know what I mean? Like people are just gonna be like, oh yeah, Penny. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
By the way, Josh is here all night, folks. Just
Josh just needs to jump on the stream.
he does. He's probably locked in a high stakes risk game, but
Right.
but no, he's just tip your waitresses, everybody. Okay.
So,
Josh, I do have to tell you, the risk games are not helping my concentration. I'm glad you found this sort of thing to kind of take breaks from comics. I feel like this gravitational pull into it. I watch some of these and it's like, I need to start playing Risk again. I need to bone up on my Risk. I need to get strong. But as I've alluded in the chats,
Climb away from them.
really enjoying the intelligence I'm gathering, watching you play.
Get
Very
some
careful.
food,
Very careful.
then go.
Taking
Wake
notes.
up.
Oh, in this situation, Josh does this. Oh, interesting.
Oh, look.
Oh, the times he's lost, he always does this kind of thing. Oh,
when I watch Josh, it has convinced me that I don't want to play Risk. That's every time. By the way, Maddox handed me the controller and said I have to fight these bad guys, so I'm playing Spider-Man now. I should put this on the screen so it should be. But yeah, every time I've watched Josh, I've like, I don't have the energy or the ability to think that deeply about.
You absolutely could. I think it's an attention thing with you. I think you're just not interested enough to do it. You absolutely could.
Not that many. No, like keeping that many things in my mind at the same time. That's
like
where-
chess. Chess is way harder than Risk.
Well, I will say because Paul, when we were talking last time about chess,
Mm-hmm.
Paul was like, "I play chess," and I'm like, "Oh, cool." So we played a couple games. Paul absolutely destroyed me. Like, just
Oh, really?
not even.
Oh, good to
It
know.
wasn't even like a contest. Like I think he was doing it like left-handed while he was watching TV, and I had my full attention.
He was on a bus. He was like, talking to the guy next to him. Also, like, oh wait, I got to take a move. Okay, what were you saying? Like,
Yeah,
just-
he like wrote a dissertation with his right hand while he was playing. No,
Yeah.
and it just reminded me that there are certain things like I think people think that because I read a lot or whatever that I'm like really intellectual, but there are certain types of thinking that I am very bad at.
See,
And
this
just
is the
watching-
thing. I've fallen into this trap myself, and I can tell you,
Alexa is ready.
whether it's Risk or chess,
Oh,
Monopoly, or anything else,
uh,
intellectual ability
Alexa.
is irrelevant without understanding the game and practicing it. It's its own skill set. If you are not familiar with the mechanics of the game and all that, it doesn't matter how smart you are. Like if you sat down across Stephen Hawking and he never played chess before, I could whoop his ass. Like it wouldn't even matter because he doesn't know. Like it's like the old. I remember when I was a kid. This is my silly analogy. I asked my dad, who would win in a fight, Arnold Schwarzenegger or Bruce Lee? And, feeling like, oh, it'd absolutely be Arnold. Arnold's huge. Bruce Lee's like 130 pounds.
right.
And my dad's thought was like, no, Bruce Lee would absolutely destroy him. And it's like, why? It's like, because Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't know how to fight. It doesn't matter how strong he is. He doesn't know how to fight. Bruce Lee would know how to fight. Bruce Lee would be able to take him out. And that's the same thing with chess. It doesn't matter how smart you are. Same thing with Risk. It doesn't matter how smart you are. You understand the game. So like once you got the game, I think you would be formidable. But then it's like, do you want to actually spend that time learning?
Well, here's where I disagree. I agree to a certain point, but I do think that there are some physical or factual limitations to everything, right?
Right.
And so like because I really chafe at the idea of like, if you believe it, you can achieve it. If you work hard enough, then whatever. Like, I'm 42, I'm 5'6", I'm never going to be in the NBA. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain
Right.
physical and situational limitations to everything, and I do think that certain ways of thinking are beyond certain people. I believe in neuroplasticity, right? But I also believe that there are certain people that are more inclined and have a greater capacity for things. And
Yes.
I could practice all I want, and I will never be able to hold that many different people in my mind. And because what Josh is doing when he's playing Risk is he is getting in the heads of 5 other people, and he's imputing motives, and not imputing, but he's motives and different things. I have never in any situation, even situations where I'm very adept, very practiced, been able to keep that many different things going on at the same time.
Yeah.
That very well could be. There's some argument that this is a myth. There's some that it isn't, but that could be a difference in the size of the corpus callosum. You know, I mean, there's been measurement between different types of brains, and the size and the ability to communicate between things.
I think the essence of what you're saying, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Though there are a few little things I would quibble with. One is, yes, I suppose, and this is not throwing any shade on Josh. Josh is a very capable Risk player, based on my Oppo research, based on my Chinese spy balloon watching his games. Like, he's a formidable player. But I think if you don't know Risk, what he is doing probably is more impressive seeming than it. You know, like he doesn't actually have to juggle an endless array of things, and even Josh would admit this. Like, there are only a handful of basic strategies to Risk. And like, so what usually it seems like what he has to figure out is like, first of all, does this player even know what the fuck he's doing? Like, that's, so there's one or the other. Okay. Is this person just a moron or a robot? And if they're not, what is their basic approach? What are they trying? And there's really only like 3 or 4 basic approaches they might be taking, you know? So it's fairly easy to kind of sort. It's not, if you're unfamiliar with Risk, it might seem like this dizzying, like impossible challenge of imagining what they might be doing. It's really, I don't know. Josh, you're in a disagreeing frame of mind today. I'd be curious. But the other thing is, I think I generally agree with the sense of like upper limits. It may be that when you're taking you and me playing chess, one of us might have a higher potential, but that has nothing, to me, in my opinion, nothing to do with who necessarily would win playing today. You know, like so let's say just hypothetically, I have a greater potential. If I dedicated my life to chess, I would be ultimately a better player than you. But you've played more games and you're more experienced and you have a better sense of how the pieces move and what to do with them. You would probably beat me today. Like, but yes, over the long arc of like, 5 or 10 years of experience, maybe I would eventually outpace you. I feel like that's kind of what we're talking about is I still am just very skeptical that you would be bad at Risk or not.
I've played it a little bit. I'm not saying I would be bad. I think what I discovered in watching Josh is that is not something that is going to come not necessarily easily, but it would be so much work for me to get to a level of just basic competency that I'm not interested in doing.
Yeah. I think I was thinking about this the other day watching Josh play. I think the math of Risk is fairly straightforward. Like it's never like, oh, which country, like how many numbers do I need to beat that many numbers? Like that's a very easy thing to start to work out. This, I think, is the essence of Risk, is trying to figure out when not to attack trying to figure out when to allow, like, to take a small loss, like lose the battle to win the war. Like when, like some discretion, I think is like the essence of, to me, the essence of Risk. I find with my own playing of Risk, Josh, I'd be curious what you feel like you've had to learn to be better at. What I've had to learn to be better at. I'm pretty good at being cautious and turtley. What I've had to learn is when to be decisive and risk-taking. You know, like to recognize that window of like, I've been careful, I've been building, I've been sort of fortifying, like I'm good, I'm safe, I'm in a good position. But you can't do that forever. You're going to lose the game eventually. You have to start recognizing these points where it's like, now let the dog off the chain. Like now, like this is a time to take a big swing. It might not work out, but you're going to have to take a chance. Like this is the time to move. That's always been my thing to like try to work on, is like when to unleash the dogs of war. Josh, I'm assuming you've been playing enough where you've learned like this is my normal tendency and this is what I need to get better at. I'd be curious what you think that is. Yeah, it is fun to listen to Josh talking out his game. What I find kind of amusing about it, and this isn't shade, Josh, you'll never hear Josh say a nastier thing than when he's talking about someone he's playing in Risk whose moves he doesn't understand. Like Josh is generally like kind of a very nice, easygoing, empathetic kind of guy. But when someone is playing Risk in a way that he does not agree with that move, like he's right out with like, this guy's a moron. You know, like just like right away. And I find that sort of amusing that like in almost every other area of life, like I've heard him have conversations with people with really bizarre positions and takes and belief systems and everything. And he's sort of like, will be kind of polite and entertain it. But God forbid you take a country that doesn't make sense to Josh. Like you are now a dummy. You are such a moron. This guy's an idiot. He deserves to lose. Like, I mean, it's just like, wow. Like that, you will get a different side of Josh. It's intriguing. But
yeah, it's fun.
The area I need to grow in. Oh, look at it. Almost quits that is not getting triggered. I'm pretty good at it, but there are times when you're getting needled, and I can tell. You do not weather being poked well. That is something I have noticed. And it's something I filed away for when we play. It's like the idea of just hitting a country, hitting one of the ones to get a card that round. Ooh, faux pas. You know, and it's like, to me, it's like that's the game. Like you'll do it to me next round, and we're going to do that. It doesn't mean it's open war. We're just sort of, you know, getting the game's moving. It's fine. Chill, bro. Chill. But no, you. There's some times where it just strikes you all wrong. You don't like it. Don't like it one bit. But
okay,
Corey,
I've got a question for the crowd.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out a way to bring in the financial side of this.
Yes.
I think I've got the war and the government side. I don't have like the profit over human life side. And so if anybody's got any ideas that is more symbolic or less obvious than just a pile of Scrooge McDuck coins in the back.
Yeah, something less on the nose than like smelting bones into coins. So like that's okay. Everyone, that's the homework. Thank you.
Okay, so Paul says the reason we're skeptical is because you've invested in your art. You can invest if you're gaming if you want to.
Yeah.
We see it. Game recognizes game.
Yeah,
So,
it's an intensity of focus. That's all it is. And like I that's where it becomes just, do you care to spend your focus this place? You know,
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. Is like you might feel like I just don't give a shit about board games. And yeah, you'll always be bad at board games because you don't care. Like you're not going to invest that energy. But that, to me, going back to the very initial thought, has nothing to do with intelligence or cleverness or anything like that. Like if you're not going to be bothered to try and learn something, you're never going to be good at it. It doesn't matter how many assets you're bringing to the table, I think.
Well, okay, so I want to ask because I'm just kind of curious. Do you do you think that there are no upper limits on people who for a G-string show with the dollar? Yes, that would be good.
That's not bad. I kind of like that. Or the garter.
A lot of good symbolism in that, yeah.
Not that I know what a G-string is, but the garter.
That might be a little outside of what I have kind of a hard PG-13 on my.
Yeah.
Because that was there was
Your
a
question
lot.
about upper
There was a
limit.
lot of the kind of prostitution stripper stuff that I was just like, I'm not going to go down the road, but I do like that one. It's fun. So my question is, do you believe that there, with enough effort and focus and say, perfect storm of variables situationally, there isn't an upper limit in types of thinking, or that it's so high that it's irrelevant, or just I think in certain things, my upper limit is like where I'm at, and where I'm at in those certain things is very low, like below average. On, I think in certain types of things, and I think that's true of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We have natural predilections towards and against things, and a lot of talent can be described as enough of an interest to fight through the crap, and get good at something, right?
Right.
But I also do believe, like in the facticity of the existential theory, that there are certain things that are just facts, that are immutable, that are beyond our control, that are just limits that cannot be moved.
I would agree with that, and I would also say that while I agree a lot of talent is just we use talent as a word to describe enthusiasm overcoming obstacles, and that's, but I do also believe people in different ways are configured in different ways where some things come easier or better to them, I think it's all of the above. Like, I think anyone could probably learn to be a better dancer, but some people are always going to be better than other people, or whatever the thing is. I think some people, you can learn to be better with color. You can learn to play Risk more successfully. But some people, based on like just the way their brain is built, the way they think about things, the way their body is built, like whatever, they're just going to be better. Like that, their upper limit is higher than this other person's upper limit. I tend to think, though, very few people actually reach their upper limit. I think the level of effort, I'm going to reverse it for you, for the people watching at home, it increases to get better at something. It's more and more and more and more intensive. Like more and more effort is required on your part. And I think the average person will tap out getting better at something before they reach their limit. They might get close. It might be sort of like a speed of light thing, where you can get very, very close, but you're never actually going to reach it because the level of effort to attain it is just so far out what you can devote your life to.
Well, and here's along those lines. As you're talking, I want to further.
Just for the record, Josh disagrees, but yeah,
that makes sense. So the limit as it approaches zero.
Yes.
Okay. So for those, and this is ironic because I'm not great at math. I understand theoretical stuff. I'm not good at calculation, I guess. But the idea of the limit as it approaches zero, like if you were to half something,
right?
If I'm going to move towards something and I move half the distance each time, right?
Yes.
I will never reach it because I can always cut it in half. And at some point in time, I am still technically making forward progress, but I'm halving such an infinitesimally small.
To me, that's the approaching your limit. Like that's something like
that. That is true as well.
Or in the same family of thought problems, when you're measuring a coastline as our abilities got more and more sophisticated, this coastline's getting longer and longer because you can measure all the little micro. Yeah. And so like at some point it's like, not literally, but in a way it's this infinitely long coastline because you can never, yeah, right. It's a little like that, you know?
So and for me, when I decided to start to draw, I was also in the middle of, I finally found an instrument that I could sort of do a little bit. I had tried to learn the guitar, I had tried to learn piano, I tried to learn whatever. And you guys can assume whatever you want about my work ethic and whatnot, but from what you know of me, you can guess how much effort I put into those things. And I came to the ukulele, which is an extremely simple instrument.
Yes.
And I finally felt like, oh, I found something that I can do, right? And I spent hundreds of hours so that I could play the basic chords of like Eleanor Rigby and Blackbird. And it took me way too long to figure out like the strum pattern of like Viva La Viva, you know, whatever. Those 3 songs were the equivalent of like approaching several thousand hours of effort. And so, and that was on like, everybody around me was a musician, and they didn't get that I don't, like, no matter how much I was able to like sort of, you know, be a gorilla in the room learning sign language, I'm still never going to be able to talk. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I can sort of mimic some things and have a rudimentary thing, but we would get together. And I remember all of these musicians, like when I was leading because we started like a ukulele jam community where we get together every Thursday night and whatever. And whenever I was the one that was like leading the song, like everybody was like, why can you not understand just the basics of rhythm? And I cannot to this day hear or understand or maintain just like basic metronome stuff.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
To me, that's a perfect example, you know, and just a quick interjection. When I hear people talk about like, oh, there's no such thing as talent, anybody can learn anything, anybody could be equally good at anything. To me, keeping time or like perfect pitch is like a go-to example of like, you're wrong. You're just wrong. Like there are some things that are just, you know, like you could get, I always will say you could get better. You can definitely, there's always room for improvement. But yeah, you're going to hit your limit sooner or later compared to somebody else. And that's just the way it is. And I think it's kind of silly like to tell people like, oh, we could all be Michael Jordan. Like you can't.
Right.
You can't. And that's what's amazing about him. That's why do you celebrate him? You know, because like, yeah, I'm sorry, continue.
No, and so like when I decided I'm going to teach myself to draw, I had been doing this for a few months, and I told everybody I'm going to quit the ukulele, and they were like, "No, you're really making some progress." And I'm like, "No, but I want to learn how to draw." And they didn't understand. They didn't understand why I needed to quit the ukulele,
Right.
because I was like, "You don't get it, and that's okay, but when I'm learning something, that needs to become
It's
like an all-encompassing thing. Like I'm gonna jump into the deep end with concrete tied to my feet, and I'm gonna figure out if I can swim. And I'm not gonna be able to do that if I have a ukulele in one hand, you know.
Right.
And so,
right. Well, especially the intensity that you or I think all the people watching approach things.
Yeah.
Like and this is, God forbid this sounds elitist. And I mean, I don't mean it this way. But I think there's a level of intensity in the way we approach our passions that is uncommon, you know, with like just normal, happy people. You know, like we want to go all in. Like, I mean, look at Josh playing Risk.
Yeah.
Like some people would say like, you know what, I want to like pick up a video game or a board game or something to distract myself from my work. And they'll do it very casually and poorly, but that's all they need. Josh is trying to become a grandmaster. Like this, that's to me like case in point of how we are, you know, where it's like, no, I want to take this as far as I can, you know, because that's just how we approach our things. Like it's how we approach our day jobs. It's how we approach our work. And it's also how we approach our hobbies. it's a good thing there. I wasn't live streaming my Elden Ring play last year. Like you would see kind of a Josh like intensity where it's, like really me studying stat screens for a half an hour saying like, do I need to put another point in vigor? Like, I mean, it's just like really like, no, I want to like, I'm going all in on this.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's a long way of saying I watched Josh play and I immediately recognized within like 10 or 15 minutes of listening to his thought process out loud
Yes.
that I am totally uninterested in the limit approaching zero of my low ceiling of ability of where I'd be able to do that. And I played Risk.
You'll have to decide if, therefore, you will not participate in the Great Artcasters Risk Tournament. Or
I'll be
and you're totally content to like be knocked out in the first round or something.
Here's what I'll commit to do. I will be the cannon fodder, and I will happily trash talk as if I'm the best player.
I like that. That's my favorite version of this. Actually, is if you come in saying like you're all going down. That's it. Yeah. That's better build alliances with me right now, or else you're going to be crushed under my heels. Just lots of talk. Yeah, right. And then all paper tiger. No, I like that idea.
Josh says wah-wah pedals on a uke. So this is a very lame claim to fame. I am directly responsible for introducing America to the solid body electric ukulele.
I do remember you saying that, which is pretty wild.
I mean, people don't even know that they exist, but they're not little guitars, and we did all the things with the piezo pickups and the internal mechanics and everything like that. But I fully was the one that came up with the marketing strategy to introduce that, and we imported a line of ukuleles. Anyway, so that's my thing. I can't remember.
It'll be on your tombstone. It'll be in your obituary.
Yeah, hopefully not. And that's why it came up, because Josh and Jim were talking about wah-wah pedals on ukuleles, and so there's two. I'm going to not talk about this for 20 minutes, though I can talk about this for several hours. But there are two different types of ukuleles that you could hook up to these, and one of them was a bass, a uke bass, and the strings were half an inch thick, and they felt like fishing lures. It was like a really gummy rubber, and they were so bassy that they would blow out amps. They would like Back to the Future amp blowout.
Yeah.
Those were really fun. And then the other ones were these rhythm relief amp or ukes, and we'd hook them up to all kinds of stuff. There's a couple of my artists that I did. So I was in charge of what do you call that? Sponsorship. So I was in charge of like getting interviews. We had some pretty big uke YouTubers at the time, and they do the craziest stuff. And then I got this guy out of I think it was NYU. I think he taught composition at NYU. Pedro da Silva, phenomenal. So I brought him to a show, and he sat down on a ukulele and hooked it up to like 5 different guitar pedals, and then just sat there and played Metallica and Megadeth and Pantera on this uke. And it was like, he's doing the finger tapping, thrashing all over the place. Like it was phenomenal.
Yeah, I would like to see that. That's
those might be some of my first YouTube videos. I think I've made it private, but I'll send you a link.
Oh yeah. No, I would like to see that. That'd be fun. That sounds kind of hilarious. There's a lot of interest in the risk casters, by the way, in the chat. So, and I want to say I disagree with this, Josh. We'll see how this turns out. My impression, Corey doesn't seem like the suicide type. I don't think Corey is the type who would be interested in torpedoing someone for someone else's benefit. If I had to make a prediction of what kind of trolley behavior Corey would adopt, assuming he adopts any, I think he'll find, like, I picture him finding some corner of the map where every turn he just pours troops into that same spot. And, like, maybe he takes, like, a little country here and there just to get some cards. But basically, it'll be a point where, like, 45 minutes into the game, you realize, like, Corey has this one little country with, like, 135 troops on it. And someday someone's going to have to go in there and, like lever him out, like, and it's just going to be this nightmare. He can never win the game. He's sort of stuck and he's boxed in, but, like, he's now just this problem where he's like this, he's got this huge army just sitting in a corner of the world just waiting for someone to do something about it. That's kind of my impression, but I don't know. We'll see. Scott wins.
His guess is that what wins is niceness.
He says that a lot, and that's one of the big disagreements I think he and I have in our Risk philosophy. Josh is a big fan of, like, play nice, be nice, act all innocent. Like, yeah, I'm not a threat, and wait for everyone else to kind of cut each other's throats, and then, like, before they know it, like, you're now a threat. There's something to that, in my opinion. But at least my mentality, and I come from the Monopoly cutthroat board game school of thought, where I never am fooled. None of you are my friends. Like, absolutely not. Only one person can win this. And I'm very clear-eyed about that. So, like, the idea of, like, oh, I'm just going to play nice here and no one, like, I'm not going to be a threat. You don't fool me. Like, nobody, like, you're all threats. Like, where I'm a threat to you. Like, let's not pretend, like, no, like, ultimately everyone here has to die if I'm going to win. And, like, I've never lost sight of that. And I feel like most players also have that mentality where they understand what you're doing. They understand you're kind of being, like, I'm going to let you move by me here and I'm going to let you do this and whatever. But I never have mistaken that for, like, a long game. You know, like, that's actually the player that most makes my spider sense tingle, where it's like you're trying to escape notice and I'm noticing. Like, I don't like that. I'm not a fan of what you're doing over here. But we'll see what happens when we play Riskcasters. I'll probably just get a bad initial country spread and get knocked out.
Okay, I want to make a pitch for a Rocket League tournament.
A Rocket League turn. I would play it, but that's one absolutely I would lose.
No,
but I'm sure I would be last.
I think that's why it would be entertaining.
Okay.
Like, I think the best part about that would just be watching people just flail around and completely whiff on the ball. And yeah. I mean, I love that game. It might have to be everybody versus me or something just to make it fair or something. But, like, I just think that would be, because watching people try hard and not do well in that game is almost as entertaining as watching people do really well. So that's my argument for that.
I'll do it. I mean, I'm up for any game. I'm just going to set expectations low, and this is not sharking. I don't know. I think I've played Rocket League, like, once in my life. So, like, it will be a disaster.
And it's free to play. It's free to play, so it's not going to cost anybody anything.
All right.
Josh? I just bought the Champions Edition of Street Fighter 5 or something.
Oh, I've pre-ordered Street Fighter 6, and I cannot. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Street Fighter is that's one that we won't be able to do because people would have to buy it. But, oh man, if we could do a Artcasters Street Fighter tournament.
Okay, here's what we need to do. Okay, this is my new plan. I have a theater in my basement.
Yes.
Any game that can be couch co-op split screen, we just stream that. And I've got a huge 10-foot wide kind of screen with theater seating, and we'll kayak during the day, and we will live stream.
That actually sounds great. That sounds great. I've never been to your state, so like maybe I don't know. Maybe there needs to be a trip, and then couch play is always superior to online. I mean, it's great to actually.
I am so frustrated with modern video game producers because they moved away from that.
I know.
And it's like they're leaning into something that I think is way more alienating, and maybe it's more profitable. I don't know, but like online play with strangers is so much less interesting.
So much. No, and in fact, if there was a way to work it, like if we were all local,
yeah,
I would utterly refuse to do app Risk. I would say we have to do this on a board around a table, which is always like so far superior. And not only that, I think it's better. One thing I get frustrated with the app when I'm watching it or when I'm playing it myself, it's very difficult to communicate your intentions or your bluffs to other players, which to me is half the game.
Right.
You know, so it's so much easier just to tell someone across the table from you, like, I'm going to take this country. Like, I'm not trying to mess with you. I'm just trying to move, you know, and like you can tell them what you're doing, or you can say like, look, like I'm just taking this for a card, like, you know, whatever, or like bluffing, being like, don't worry, I'm building up my army here so I can go after blue, and like, whoops, tricked you, I'm going after red, like whatever. Like that to me is half the game of Risk, and it's kind of basically eliminated from the app. Like you can hint, but it's not the same.
Yeah. I moved in with a group of guys in college that had built a Risk table. Like there was a table that they hand built themselves that was specifically for playing the game Risk. The height of it was at a height that you could, because it was so big it took up the living room. And so like the height of it was at a height that you could easily step up on top of it and walk over it. But also there was a specific distance away from the board that gave everybody enough space to like lay out their cards and do
their stuff. Yeah.
Like they had, like, that's how into it they were. There was a Risk table. I have a pitch for a game. I'm curious if anybody has played this. Have you played Deadwood?
Is there a Deadwood game? I didn't know that.
Okay, so an indie publisher, and I can't remember what they're called, but they come up with these games. It's not based on the TV show.
Okay.
It is based on the actual town of Deadwood, and they have 4 or 5 games. They all look like books, and so you can put them on your shelves, and they look like books. And they're all based on forcing people to cooperate in a situation where you know that everyone is going to turn on each other and screw each other in the end.
Sure.
Like
yeah.
And Deadwood is by far the best of their games. They have like Salem, where it's like a Salem witch trials thing. They've got, you know, different cities and different eras where like really violent and or problematic things happen. And
I would check it out.
Deadwood is the best. What it is you are trying to amass as much gold as you can in these safes. And there's 3 rooms. You can be in the saloon, or the whatever, or the whatever. Like there's 3 different places. And you're in a room with somebody, and the room with the most gold advances to the final round. And in the final round, the winning room, everybody turns on each other and kills each other. And so it's not, you have to work together to get to the final round, but knowing that whoever is in your room is going to pull a gun on you at some point.
Well, I mean, see, the fact that you like this game and you understand it, like you're now, to me, I'm more convinced than ever you'd be good at Risk. Like, because Risk is sort of the same thing. Ultimately, you're going to have to kill all these people that you're maybe initially playing nice with. And what I love, one of the things I love about Risk is, yes, especially if you're doing randomly assigned countries, like from the start, you do have to play nice for a little bit. You kind of give yourself, generally, if you're doing it that way, there's usually a round or 2, unless you're playing with lunatics, where it's like, okay, I got some presence in South America. I'm going to try and migrate. I'm going to try and claim South. Okay, you've got Europe. You go ahead, like you try to do Europe. You try to do Australia. Like you kind of let people get situated and kind of create their little territory, carve it out however they think they want to do it. But you know, ultimately, like, we're all going to have to try and go for each other's throats. What I find fascinating about Risk is, without getting the particulars of the math and the die rolls, there is a huge incentive to be the first person to break the piece. Like, there's a huge attacker advantage, so if you want to try and play defensively, it's usually a losing move. Like, you're just not, like, if you kind of want to even survive the game, you have to know, like, not only I think this is the time to move, but like, I'm going to be the person to do it. I need to initiate the combat. And that, I love that kind of game of chicken and Risk, where you're playing and you're like, who's going to be the person who's going to start spilling blood? Because there's so much incentive to spill blood, even though that also is going to start escalating, like everything falling apart. It's a weird balance between, you got to play nice, like Josh talks about. But at some point, it's like, okay, can't be nice anymore. And you want to be the first person to recognize that. You don't want to do it too early, because too early, you're going to get yourself killed. But there's a moment, a perfect moment that you're waiting to see. That's, I think, my favorite aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Deadwood is a bit more overt because you're literally on a team. It's not like you're making alliances. Because I'm watching Josh and it's like, I'm going to hint to this guy by moving these troops out of the way that he can kind of pass through or whatever. Like, you just say stuff. Also, if you're attacking somebody else and they have certain types of cards, they can toss a gun into that fight. And so you actually see people help. It would be like Risk if I could give Josh a couple extra troops to attack somebody, or like if I could give him an extra dice to roll against someone. You know what I mean? Like, So
that's interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely check it out. It helps that. It's funny. I was just talking to the Making Comics guys about Deadwood yesterday. The show.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
It's maybe my favorite show of all time. Like, depending on when you ask, I love it so much. I just think it's one of the best.
The characters are all the same because they're all historical characters. So you've got you got the priest, you've got Kitty, you've got
Seth Bullock. Swearingen. I don't know if they put him in there, depending, but like, he was an actual historical character. But
let me see.
I don't even know what anymore, but Josh is still disagreeing hard. Artcasters versus Comics Lab in Risk. Loser cancels show. I think Josh would be. That's the one thing Josh maybe would agree with today. I think, since he wants to start a thing.
Okay, so this is. Let's see. These are the characters in the game.
Paul, 100% agree. Risk is a little bit like boxing. You kind of like, you don't go in the first round like throwing haymakers. Like, you're kind of just like feeling, what are you doing? Where are you at? What do you do when I do this? What do I do when you do that? Okay. But then, like, it's like, okay, now things are happening. But Calamity Jane.
You got the Reverend, Calamity Jane, Molly Johnson, Solomon Starr, Seth Bullock, Kitty Leroy, Bill Hickok, Poker Alice, and Al Swearingen.
Nice. I'm totally going to check that out.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah, it'll be worth it. But
yeah.
Couch co-op, man. Couch co-op. That's the way to go. But yeah. So if anybody wants to play Rocket League, we should do that. You remember Rocket League, buddy? It's the one with the cars that play soccer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You like that game?
Yeah, it's on Switch.
It is on the Switch. Yep. That's true.
Where's that guy? Right there.
That's just a pedestrian.
No, what's that red thing?
Oh, those are bad guys. They're robbing somebody. You got to go save them because you're Spider-Man.
I don't know how I can get to them. Oh, there it goes.
Sorry. Mostly Maddox, who's for playing Spider-Man, is him just exploring the open world. So he's just swinging from one end of New York to the next end.
Just like what? Yeah, just going around. Well, I mean, it's arguably the most fun part of those games.
The fighting mechanics of this version of the game, because the Xbox game.
Which one is that? Which one are you playing?
This is the PlayStation 4 or 5 version that was ported over to Steam recently.
Yes.
And
Yes, I actually, that's one of my carrots for finishing the book. I have it. I have not played it for 1 minute, but I have it out there waiting. Spider-Man is one of my gaming goals this year.
yeah, it is one of the few games where I've been interested in and done like 100% completion.
Wow. Yeah. I heard it's good. I love, like, Spider-Man's one of my, when you're talking about classic superheroes,
Yeah.
Spider-Man's probably my favorite. So as soon as I saw, like, how, first of all, it looks great. And I saw you can get like kind of the classic kind of Ditko style suit. I was like, I'm in. I'm like, I want to play that. Like, I just want to swing around. I'll probably be doing it like he's playing it, just swinging around.
Oh, and that's super fun. I've gotten all the suits. The best suit, in my opinion, there's two really good ones that most people would not be interested in, but most people are not the same type of weird nerd that I am. One is the Spider Clan anime. Remember the anime Marvel thing that they tried for a little bit?
I don't think I did. No.
Okay, I've got to send you some stuff. But they tried this whole, I can't remember what they called it, but it was a whole manga verse situation, and everything was terrible except for Spider-Man. And Spider-Man was so good. He was part of the Spider Clan, and they were like a samurai shogunite ninja type situation, and like what he doesn't have web shooters, but he has like ninja grappling hooks, and he's got the climbing claws on his. He's a ninja who dresses up like a ninja. And his uncle is Venom, this guy who's like taken the teachings of the monastery and gone dark with it. Anyway, it's really good. And they have one of those suits, and that's awesome. And then they also have one that is like a toon shaded, like 1960s cartoon version. And it looks so good because it's just skinned over the really good animation.
Yeah.
And it's in this photorealistic world. And it looks like a Gorillaz video or something. Like it's those two suits are my favorite. And then the one that I play often is the UK Spider-Punk, with the spikes.
Cool. Yes, of course. Yeah.
But there's good ones.
I wanted to respond to this, Paul. I think actually this would work against me if I was, because of what I mentioned before, how Josh, when he sees a move he wouldn't have taken, he'll just be like, this person doesn't know what they're doing. This person's like I would hear, like, if I was playing him on the app clandestinely and I heard it, like, I did something and he was like, this person's a moron, I would be like, so, like, oh, like, I'll show him. Like, it would not help. Like, so, no, I think that would actually make the play worse if I was hearing Josh's unfiltered commentary on my play. And then, of course, Josh was enjoying, Corey's a big fan of the clan. Take your video clips now. Can you tell us more about the benefits of the clan? Josh is just looking to mix it up today. I think this might be too much risk.
Maybe he's gone very.
Life isn't risk, Josh. Life, it's not all risk.
Have you read the Star Wars manga?
Which one?
Let me see if I can.
I think I've seen it. I haven't read it. I've been interested in it. It's probably been sitting on my Amazon.
Yeah, the covers are the best thing about it.
Yeah, no, I've eyeballed that. I've never actually picked it up.
Yeah, they're really good. But let me see if I can find this. Let me see if I can find this other one. Where is my Spider-Man section? This might take me a minute, so this is really bad radio. But I even have the original action figure from the 90s of the anime Spider-Man. Here, step forward, buddy, for a minute. No, step forward. I gotta get behind it. Let's see here. Where is it? Oh, there we go. Spider-Man Noir.
I don't see it.
Edge of the Spider-Verse, Spider-Gwen. Spider-Man 2099, Marvel Mangaverse. There it is.
Why were you finding that?
Because I wanted to show my friends.
Yeah.
Do-do-do. So, let me turn on the light here. So this is Spider-Man Legend of the Spider-Clan. And you can tell he's got, let me see if I can find some. So he climbs, he swings through the city because he's got the hooks. Anyway.
Very cool.
Super good.
It's a fun idea.
Yeah. And his Uncle Ben is his monk mentor.
Nice.
Right. Who he still gets to talk to because he does the whole astral projection thing into the.
What is the who's the villain?
It is Venom.
Oh.
Well, there's a couple villains, but like you've got, let's see. Let me see if we can find it. You got Doc Ock. Or are you looking to?
No, those guys.
Those are all the guys. But like just the way that they drew everything is I just love everything about this.
Pretty crazy. Yeah. How are they interpreting Doc Ock? Is he very octopus-like?
Yeah, so they all have kind of like animal totem things. So here's where the symbiote was introduced.
That's cool.
And, yeah. So this is other side. So this is his uncle who turns into Venom after the kind of darkness takes over. Anyway, it's got a little bit of a Ninja Turtles Foot Clan thing where there's just the disposable ninjas,
Yeah.
What is that? The inverse ninja law? Have you heard that?
No. What is that?
The inverse ninja law is one of my favorite things. One ninja is extremely dangerous, but their ability to fight goes down.
The more of them there are. Yeah, that's wow. I never thought about that, but that's 100% true. One is like a one-man army.
Right.
An army is like one man.
Yeah, the inverse ninja law is great. It is universally true. Okay, here's the Green Goblin.
Cool. That's
this
cool.
Is a horrible way to show this, but anyway, just really cool.
I like how the plume looks. That's cool.
Yeah. So they've got this in the game, and it's pretty rad. Different suits. Yeah, cat. Anyway, and then they did, because that did really well. Then they did the Mangaverse, which is one of the worst pieces of garbage that I've ever read in my life. It is horrible.
Yeah.
So bad. Kind of similar to 2099, where the only good thing that came out of that was Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2099 was awesome. Everything else 2099 was good.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel Knights 2099 was pretty good, but those were just one-off short stories. Yeah, I mean this just gets into stupid furry garbage, and it's just there's nothing.
Yeah,
Iron Man being a giant mech is cool though.
That's cool. I wish. It's funny. I hadn't thought about it in a while until I was at that Arizona Comic Book Arts Fest. The persistence of the furry thing is, I know, and I try to look. I don't want to be that. I never want to be that guy where it's like, this is garbage, But I really, really, really don't get it. It's such a profound way. It's like, why? And it's a shame because sometimes I see artists I can tell are super talented, but that's what they're drawing, and it's like I can't. I just can't. I can't do this, guys.
Right.
I'm sorry. Good luck to you. I'm moving on to the next table.
From what I understand, it is an excellent way to make money.
Oh, apparently. I mean, and there's because those people who are into it want that content bad. Like they really want. There's an audience to be served out there, but
Yeah.
there's an audience for meth too. I don't know. So Josh has worn me out. Josh,
Have you read
your
Spider-Man Noir?
strategy with Paul has paid off. You've exhausted him.
Have you read Spider-Man Noir?
No, I haven't. I'm aware of it, but I have not read it. Yeah, I heard it's good.
That one's good too.
June 29th.
He's got guns and he shoots people. I mean, it's like he doesn't so much have spider abilities as he has he's really good at sneaking around.
Yeah.
Like he's just
I think actually the majority of my knowledge of him is gleaned from the Spider-Verse movie. Like I was aware of that character and I knew there was book, but like that was the most I ever got was from that movie.
So there was a video game that was very true to the comic, and I think it was one of the Wii games, because most of the villains in that are circus freaks from the 20s.
Oh,
And so
that's a cool idea.
yeah, the geek, like the original geek who would eat
Chicken
bats and stuff.
Yeah.
Most of them were like in this evil circus, and the game was you sneaking around in the shadows fighting freaks in the surface, like a mutant guy who's got vulture wings, or I can't remember if it was Goblin or who ran the circus, but it was anyway.
Yeah.
It was good. So.
Did you go to SCAD, SCAD? I don't know what this is. Corey.
Yeah, Savannah College of Art and Design.
Oh, okay.
I have a degree in illustration design from SCAD.
All right.
Well, I think I've got to run.
This was a long one, but it was good. I didn't realize there'd be so much conversation and so much participation and so many interesting topics. I didn't realize Josh would, for the record, everyone disagrees with almost everything we said today. 100%.
Just in case you're
wondering, aggressively disagrees.
Right, and where he stands on stuff, he disagrees.
Yeah.
That's his stance.
And he has a degree, but you do have a degree in awesome, I guess. All
Okay,
right.
I'm gonna bounce out so you can close it out, but I will catch you later.
Okay, cool.
Goodbye.
See ya. All right, everybody. Corey Kerr, everybody. I'm going to wrap it up. This was a long one, but again, it was good. It was fun, good conversation. And the chat was very active, which was fun to see. Dee Dee, thank you for coming by. Nice to see you. Until next time. Josh, I disagree with everything you expressed in the chat today. 100%. Disagree with your risk strategy. Disagree with your opinion on the clan. I'll just leave it at that. I won't even elaborate. I just disagree. You're wrong about the clan, Josh. Let's see here. I'm glad you're being productive. Now I need to be productive. Let's see. Thank you for letting me debut my project titled Gary. Also, I hope Artcasters beats Comic Lab in the Risk Championships. I believe in our chances. I think we've got a pretty good bench of Risk people, and when you factor in people like Corey, who thinks he would not be good at it, thinks he doesn't have the attention span or the ability. I bet with just a little bit of Risk experience, he could be at minimum a very competent player. So I believe in our chances if such a tournament ever came to pass. Thank you. Not quite there yet, but I can see it. I can see the finish line. So I'm sure you can appreciate. Boy, it's great to get there. I would not advocate you thinking about it too soon, because I made that mistake. But just know that it's going to be great when you get there. Don't think about it too much. Just concentrate on left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. But it's going to feel nice. The experience. I hope we can pull this off. I'm picturing. Okay, here's the screen. Is this possible? It's got to be possible. This is where we recruit Corey. Corey will know how to do it. The middle, like this, is the board. And then little on the sides, 1, 2, 3. We'll do 6 players, 1, 2, 3. Kind of like a weird kind of Brady Bunch where the middle is the board. And to emulate the in-person experience, which, as I said before, is the superior form of Risk. It allows us to talk to each other, to kind of to threaten, to sweet talk, to negotiate, to bluff, to engage in some diplomacy, some alliances, some kind of little back and forth. Like, I have a concern about Scott. So Josh, you and me, if you go here and I go here, like he's not going to be able to, neither one of us alone can actually have these conversations right in front of the person you're talking about. That's where Risk becomes delightful. I feel like with the app removed from that, it's kind of just more of a sterile, like, numbers and tactics game. But when it's everybody there at the table, and it's very, like, it's hard to really conceal what you're doing, I think it changes the game. That's what I hope for. I don't know about you, but that's my ambition for an experience. Okay. I'm going to sign off. 3 hours and 16 minutes. Next week, let me check. I think it'll be Saturday again. Yes, it should be. March 11th, probably the same time, 11 a.m. At that point, I would expect to be today. So today I said I was 3-ish pages left, as in I'm working on the 4th to last. 3 more to go. This time next week, I would expect to be 2-ish pages left, as in I'm working on the 3rd to last. So that's how this will be working. I will not be caught up. There is a board pun in there somewhere. But you disagree. Noted. Noting your disagreement. Okay. Thanks everyone for coming by. Had a lot of fun today. It was fun, the diversity of topics. Thanks for letting me think out loud on like what I am doing with this. And thank you, Jim Lujan, for giving me the exclusive title reveal of your next thing. So anyway, see you all next time. Get your stuff done.